Great, guys.
Good evening, everybody. Well, it's Wednesday night. It's 9 p.m. Eastern, give or take. It's time for What's on Joe Mind. We are a fan cast about the world of G.I. Joe. I'm your host, Mike Irizarry. How's everybody doing?
I thought Jeff had gone full Naked Gun, police squad end credit there.
Right.
That was the intent. I figured you'd think that too.
I mean, that's what I'm doing before that starts every week, right? I just had to figure something different this week.
Do it at the end of the show too.
I don't think it works out. Anyways, I don't think we got a spot there. But anyway,
it doesn't work out unless we have a chimpanzee creating havoc in the background,
which Jeff may have at the palatial Butler estate. Anyways, with me here in the top row, he is shiftlessly laying about for almost a full month now. It's rack time, Rob.
Hello.
How goes the recovery from the world of education?
Oh, it goes well. Although I'm trying to get out more, and it's decided to rain like every day.
Right. It's Wednesday, so that means there was severe weather in central Indiana.
Sorry, everybody, we missed it.
Yeah, just barely. It's all over now, so there's really no nothing threatening us now. But around 5 o'clock this afternoon, it was kind of rough.
4:30 till about like 5:15.
Yeah. It was. The sirens were going off, and I just looked over at Rob. I said, "Must be Wednesday." How do I know it's Wednesday? Oh, that's right. The sirens are going off. That's what they do around here.
No tornado show this week, though.
No.
Instead, it was just 70-mile-an-hour winds creating basically just a wave of water going. Looked out the window and just went, "Oh, look, tsunami." Okay.
It's Ohio's problem now.
Yeah.
I live in Illinois, and we didn't get quite that much. It's sprinkled today, and it's raining casually now. But
we had thunderstorms late last night. I heard roll in, and then we had that big one this afternoon. A lot of rain, not that much noise, but a lot of rain.
Yeah. Anyways, in the bottom row, you're all wondering who he is, and frankly, if you're one of our regular live audience, you already know who he is. It's Jeff Butler. He's been making the rounds in podcast world, and so we figured it'd be a good time to bring him in and put a face to the name for everybody out there. Jeff Butler, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, all right.
Hello, thank you. I've been in the chat numerous times over the years, and I'm really glad to be able to be here and support the channel. Plug the damn show elsewhere, as I have done, as I've proven to Mike in video clips. I said I did it. Look, here it is. And that probably helped me get on the show. So
I mean,
glad to be here.
If anybody says the name of the show in public, they're doing more than Rob to plug the show. So that's you're clearing a low bar, is what I'm saying.
Look, the audience that I'm in front of most of the time isn't going to watch.
Understandable. Look, I'm not saying that you're out of line for that, but
part of my direct marketing even for today was like, okay, who are my Joe fan friends, right? Like from my closest friends to my casual Instagram friends, whoever. I was like, let them know. I said differently to like, okay, I've mentioned the show before to certain people, and then other people, I'm just like, oh, I've said what I'm doing or what I got. And then once in a while you go, hey, I'm on the show that I like, talking about the stuff that I like, which is some of the stuff that you like too. So maybe you'll check it out. So all we can do sometimes.
So I expect a subscriber climb of 2 this week.
2. Woo-hoo. That's all we need. 2.
That's all we ever get, really.
We only get those subscriber climbs when we take a week off.
Yeah, that's actually the funny part of it is that our subscriber count goes up the weeks we're not here, and it just frustratingly stagnates the weeks that we are.
So if there was no Hasbro live stream, then does that count as a week off news-wise? Like, does that help?
No, because we still go most of those weeks.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you've been a part of the audience for this show for how long? And like there
3
wasn't
years, at least
yeah,
3 years.
let's even go back last week. You know, we had Mark Gerwig on.
Yeah.
There wasn't a ton of news last week, and we still went 2.5 hours.
You get Troy on for the first half hour. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Troy was. I mean, we kind of made our own news, but that's the benefit of building a community.
Yeah.
Is that when there's no Joe stuff, you can talk about their stuff.
And this is kind of a hot week generally because it is in Yojo June, and Joe Fest is this coming weekend. DFW Joe Show is the next weekend. So right now we're at peak Joe, depending on what news does or doesn't come out anyway, because
Right.
can be talking about stuff and everybody can kind of go, oh, cool, that's going on. I'm not near it, but let me know what you get or what's going on with it.
It's peak GI Joe in Yojo June. Somebody better tell Hasbro.
Yeah.
They got to put it together sometime.
I mean, Hasbro told us, and then decided to stop telling us.
Yeah, then kind of haven't shown up a whole lot after that first week, but yeah. So yeah, there's that. Agent Chuckles in the audience tonight, wishing Greg Augustin a good job on Joe. Be sure to check that out. Our friend Joe Slepsky, regular co-host Joe Slepsky, did have Greg on to talk about his project a little bit more, which is still funding on Kickstarter through the end of the month. We'll get more about that later.
And I just got an email from that particular Kickstarter about that project.
What does it say? I don't have it up, so you might as well just read it now.
It leads with a Kickstarter project update number 14, Command Files Volume 2, G.I. Joe Character Guide, After Action Report by After Action Report. And they're mentioning the Joe Fest booth.
All right.
In particular.
So yeah, Greg and Roger, I think, are going to be at the Joe Fest booth. So,
and then Project Update 13, I guess, was right before that, which is podcast appearances by the After Action Report team. So there's 2 emails back to back that were update 13 and 14 for all those that should be getting your Kickstarter updates. Look for it.
Right.
There you go, Greg.
There you are. And again, we'll plug you later.
Plug the damn book.
You're in the news. Okay, so no, I'm wrong, Greg. Josh, Roger, and a full house at After Action Report booth. The way it should be. Phil Donnelly says that Josh is on his way to Joe Fest. He's probably hitchhiking because that's a very Josh thing to do.
It's a good update from Phil being from Disneyland. That's really kind.
Yeah. He can see him from on top of the Matterhorn.
Well, I mean, Josh is in that neighborhood as well, so I'm sure he and Phil have regular communique that we're not involved in. I
got to meet Josh and Roger. Actually, they were up in Chicago year before last, I guess, and they were they had one of the After Action Report books. Maybe it was after Volume 2 that came out, and they were up at a local shop that I frequent and got to meet both of those guys there and got the book signed.
Good deal. Yeah. Roger is a guy I have known Roger for so long now. It's more than this many years, so I've stopped counting because then I feel really old. Yeah. And my therapist says that that's not a good thing to feel. So I've stopped. It's at least this many years that I've known Roger, and he's just a guy that decided one day to publish books, and here we are.
You need Kickley's Wild Bill Fingers.
Right. 8 or 9 of those per hand. But what do you say? We have wasted enough of these good people's time because we actually do have some news. Let's get to the news.
The news.
First news item. Hey, we're talking about it all month long. But the Fans in Command poll is up at codenameiowa.com. Choose the 6 Joes for their assault on Cobra Island. And that the team will be featured in all of their promotional art from now until the show premieres in November. Standings as of June 17th, the 6 spots are occupied by Beachhead, Mainframe, Wetsuit, Lady J, Snake Eyes, and Rakondo. 4 of those seem to be kind of locked in. But those that Wetsuit and Lady J spots are very much up for grabs, especially. But anyways, go to codenameiowa.com, pick the 6 Joes from the various polls that they have that you want to fill your dream squad for an assault on Cobra Island. And again, try and get them in all the promotional artwork that they put out from here to the end of the year.
So Beachhead stands out to me. How many times do they allow you to vote, Mike?
I have voted once.
Okay.
I have voted once. I actually don't know. I think you can vote once per email address.
Oh, there you go.
So the show's email address is voted for Beachhead. I could go back and get my personal one on there as well.
I like that they show actually these top 6 here, because Lady J seems to be the surprise to me with Mainframe there. Because yeah, I like that Wetsuit is there, and Rakondo, Beachhead, Snake Eyes, obviously, but it's really cool.
It's 6 separate polls. So like Beachhead.
Oh, I hadn't seen it. Okay.
Yeah, Beachhead is not in the poll against those other 5.
Oh, so there are different tiers against.
Yeah, like there's people. Beachhead is in the command slot. Mainframe is in the electronic specialist slot. Wetsuit is in the SEAL slot, so to speak. So
Mainframe's not a write-in vote.
Okay. Right. So everybody's kind of got a different core of Joes that they're up against.
Gotcha. I haven't looked at it yet. That makes sense.
So it's again, check it out, codenameiowa.com. We have the direct link to it down in the description box below. The description box is crowded this week, so be sure to check that out. And again, vote for Beachhead, or I don't know you anymore.
And for those wondering, the Fans in Command, why does that look familiar? It's from the Live the Adventure promos that they did in 87, 88 for G.I. Joe. And so using that graphic is actually really smart of them. I like that a lot. That's really smart.
Yeah, there is no nod to the original run, no Easter egg too obscure for Brian and the guys at Codename Iowa. They really put that kind of effort into it. So, yeah. I mean, just amazing work. You can't say enough good things about it. And of course, if you have the opportunity, get to Des Moines this November, because
I'm hopeful that I'll get there this November.
Right.
So my job, it kind of depends on the event that's going on around that time of year. And last year there was an event in November that I was either the week of or the week before. Like it was no way happening, but it looks like the work that I have will be predominantly October. And so maybe I'll be able to get there. And because of where I live in the country, I'll be not too far away. Maybe a friend of mine will go with me and make it a little weekend trip. We'll see if I can get there this year.
Right.
Great.
There you go. We as of right now, the plan is we'll have a table there with Joe Slepsky, the aforementioned Joe Slepsky. So, and
does Joe Slepsky make appearances
every so often? I mean, he's on the West Coast, so not very often.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
Sorry, I'm going through some of the live chat as well. So, yes, codenameiowa.com, link down below in the description. Be sure to head over there and drop in your 6 favorites for your dream team today.
And as Billy Corgan said, today is the greatest day.
And his giant head filled the screen.
his melon.
His giant bulbous
pumpkin.
Translucent light reflecting dome. Anyways.
When you stare at it,
needs
you
is a
will
pair of
get the
glasses
everlasting
to be
gaze.
Professor Bunsen Honeydew.
Yeah. Well, no, Rob, because he's like 6'5".
Yeah.
He's just this giant lollipop of a man.
Oh, so he's Knick-Knack from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
He's Pops from regular show without the mustache.
I got to see Smashing Pumpkins. It was one of the first couple of years I moved up to Chicago, and they were playing at like United Center and like these big events, big spaces. And then they released this set of tickets and this set of tickets, and then they were releasing it what's called the Aragon Ballroom. And I got to go. I got a set of tickets. I was like, awesome. They just played like 4 nights, at these other spaces, and they're playing here. And the very first song they played was Tonight Tonight. And apparently like that was not, typical of them. The same way like Willie Nelson will play Whiskey River, and it is the first song every time, every show you ever see Willie Nelson. But like Tonight Tonight being the first one for Smashing Pumpkins, like, oh, okay, something's going on here. And it was their last show for a long time with Jimmy Chamberlain, the drummer. And they played near 3 hours. Like Billy Corgan's brother got up there on a version of the song, and it's like they were having a homestand, like this great moment in time for them. I think it's 2008 or 2009. And I just remember thinking, okay, I finally seen the Smashing Pumpkins. And because of that venue and where it was and everything that they played up to that point anyway, like 12, 15 years since then, I haven't kept up, but Billy can hold the stage, right? It's like I used to think a long time ago that his voice was shrill and it was going to be too much, but like he's got that rock iconography now, and I think that
Right.
the reason he hasn't tried to grow his hair back, whether it will or won't, like I don't know.
Right, it may be out of his hands.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I don't care much for Smashing Pumpkins. I'm not going to go buy an album necessarily. I don't sit in rapt attention when they come on my radio, but I would go see them because I know he's got that reputation as a live performer. And
the hits that are going to be done well.
Right.
Honestly. Like that's the one thing about any band that has at least one greatest hit CD out. You say, okay, how many of these do I like? Okay, if they played 5 of these, would that be enough for me to enjoy the concert? If they're at the beginning of the show, one in the middle, and then for the encore or the conclusion, like you kind of have to pick, but you surprise yourself the ones that you like in the middle too and go, okay, that one's pretty good when they do that one.
Right. And I put him in, he's in what I call the Dave Matthews category.
Okay.
Like Dave Matthews Band, again, don't really care for them, but from what I understand, he's a hell of a performer live.
That's the thing. Yeah. And those guys, if they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't do it as many times as they do. Like they know there's money to be made, but they also know like they love it, and more power to them.
Bart says, don't make fun of tall people. I'm 6'6". Bart, we are tall people. It's that Billy Corgan has a giant lollipop head on top of that frame. That's making fun of Billy Corgan, not tall people.
I just remember Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins, Homer Simpson, smiling politely.
Right. Yep. Classic Simpsons cameo. Another reason to go see him.
Yep.
The best of all reasons. The best of all reasons. Next news item. Oh, woo! Speaking of After Action Report, Command Files Volume 2. Greg Augustin in the audience. This project is funded.
Very
so
funded.
Be sure to head over to Kickstarter and check it out. You may pledge with confidence. Each copy will set you back about $45. They've got different packages available for you. They'll show some sample pages. They're collecting pledges through the end of the month till June 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And again, completely there. It's more than 200% of the way there. So this book's going to happen. Don't worry about that. We are not gasping to get across the finish line. We're waiting for some surge. They just wanted to make sure they got all their Joe fans covered in a month that also has, the 2 biggest shows on the calendar. So good on the folks at After Action Report for thinking of you. So be sure to check out their project and see if it's something you'd like. If you missed the first volume, check it out. They've got a package where you can get both in this case as well. So check that out.
There's great opportunities to get all the After Action Report books with this too. Like you don't have to wait for them to get 300 to do volume 3. Volume 3 is planned. Greg would say that with Cobra, with the October Guard, with other folks that are non-Joe characters that are looking at, but this volume 2 fills out the Joe ranks after volume 1, and I got volume 1. I got everything that After Action Report has done, and they're fantastic. It's just the kind of books that you dreamed about having. You go, oh, okay, this shows me everything about the comic book. This shows me everything about these characters with the file cards. This shows me everything about issue 21, and it's a 200-page book. I mean, like the amount of research and the work that they're doing. And if you look back at anything that Greg has done as a kid, I mean, he was doing file cards. He was drawing the character in a file card and writing it next to it and then cutting them out and putting this together. And so this is a passion project that finally came out, honestly, too, at the right time, because there's so many of these Joe projects that you can see from Carson and from Greg and these guys, everybody that is doing these things. He said, this is the right time because we're all able to support it and we all care about it. And Joe is at a good point with Classified and with everything particular that's been made overall, that Joe as an IP is not, floating dead in the water the way that it had in different years and different times where these books would struggle to a different degree. There's a lot of good avenue for people to want and enjoy these. And if you haven't gotten on board Command Files Volume 2, go check out the Kickstarter or look at it and definitely get back to Volume 1 in particular too.
That's right. And I wish there was more of a play being made towards younger demographics to keep this brand alive. That's the only complaint I've got. But if what you're into is what's already been made, if you are a nostalgia buff like so many folks are these days, you can't complain about G.I. Joe right now. That's for certain.
My nephew, right? Like he's about almost 13. And he was into Ghostbusters when he was younger, and like he was Peter Venkman specifically in kindergarten. And I thought that was cool. Like he's not just going as a Ghostbuster; he's Peter Venkman. That's how much I knew he loved it. And he loved Transformers, and he loved Harry Potter, and these kind of things cycle around. And he didn't have an older brother or sister, to share with, and whatever your parents like, you get affected by that in the house, and then whatever your friends or your external influences are affected by. So when he comes over here. Right, it was to kind of go. Oh, he would see the records. This is the wall LP records for those who can't see it real clear. He would say, "Let's play some of the big music," because he would see a CD, but like the record is big music, and he'd be affected by stuff. And so like he said, "Oh, can we open that?" And be like a carded thing I got on the wall. I was like, "Oh, maybe not that one, but let's play with this one over here." And there was a couple of times I'd open something like a Hot Wheels or actually a figure. I was like, "Yeah, we can open that one." And I'd open it with him, knowing that like. You don't have to do a video opening for people. Like you're opening it with the person who wants to play with it with you. So it's getting its time in the sun, no matter how much I might put it on the shelf or in the drawer or box, whatever, and enjoy it. And being able to have those experiences with him. Like I showed him the first like 5 episodes of Gargoyles on DVD and he loved it. Like I showed him Pee-wee's Playhouse, did not care for Paul Rubens. Like, so it kind of depends on the individual. And G.I. Joe didn't.
He's just like Ragtime Rob, then. He's just like Rob.
I don't know if I've ever seen Gargoyle, and I like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but the Playhouse never caught me.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a unique thing by itself, too, because if you watch Big Top Pee-wee, and I remember as a kid going, oh, it's Pee-wee, but like it has nothing to do with the Playhouse, and it's nothing to do with Big Adventure now either. Yeah, and even as a kid, I'm going, oh, that's different. And I've seen in the retrospect, since then, right? Okay, it's not Tim Burton, but it's more Paul Rubens in different ways. And it's like, this is why this was done and this was done. And it's interesting now more as an adult viewer to see it and to realize the creativity that was on hand for the show and the other movie. But yeah, Big Adventure, like, there's people that are, I think, in your boat, Rob, who would love that and go, that's enough.
Yeah, no, Pee-wee's Big Adventure is great, but yeah.
It's classic.
Like I said, the Playhouse, I was just kind of like, oh, well, like I could sit for it would entertain me for about like 10 minutes, and then
And sometimes it's the age that you discover it, right? Too. So like, if you're a little older when it's airing brand new, then it's not for you, right? You go, oh, 5 years ago I might have been the one exactly for it, and that's why I think Transformers, Batman, DC, Marvel, Power Rangers, and Ninja Turtles, all these things from the last like 35 years in particular, they keep cycling in to get the youth to care about it. Like, here's the thing for the adults, here's the thing for the youth. Here's comedic Batman, here's dark Batman. And G.I. Joe did that to the degree, right? Like, y'all know the different times where you go, oh, here's Valor versus Venom, and it's marketed to a younger age. And then here's Sigma 6, who's marketed to this group. And then you have the 25th anniversary, which was the older fans. And right now there isn't that, right? And the price is in the way for people. And then the entry, like, well, there's no cartoons. And what is there on YouTube then to grab a hold? Because if they don't have a marketing force to pull people in to go TikTok and Snapchat and all these things where the kids are at, we as young folks were grabbed by the commercials in between other shows, the half-hour episodes that had great character development animation, and then a great toy that was really well marketed on the package with the art and the cross-sell and the file cards. And looking now, you go, they barely give classified, oh, here's something you can scan that doesn't take you to a file card. Like,
it doesn't take
I don't understand
anywhere.
The lack of the extra that they could be doing with that, and that's its own thing. But yeah, that's the trick. Like, in 10 years, where's G.I. Joe going to be as an IP?
Yeah, it's a little troubling in that regard, but I guess we'll see. We don't have much of a choice.
That's why I go on these books and things now too. Like, there's no guarantee that these get a reprint. Even there's no guarantee that someone else is like 10 years from now, let's do another G.I. Joe book. Like, you can't see the future that way. So right now you can see something, go, I love it, I can afford it, and maybe not buy the toy if you want the book, because the book is done by a fan and it is an independent. So you're supporting independent, and the toy can be there later. Unless it's an exclusive, you're going to miss it, which I understand the FOMO of that. But make sure you get the book, because that's the FOMO you don't want later, because it's going to be harder to ever pick up.
Oh, yeah. And if you need more details, more information, we did talk to Greg and Roger back episode 343 just a few weeks ago at the end of April. You can get all the ins and outs of After Action Report Command Files Volume 2 straight from the horse's mouth, horses plural, right there. Next news item. Hey, guess what? More layoffs. Boy. Yay! Just in time to ruin Yojo June. But Hasbro announced yesterday that they are laying off 3% of its global workforce. That is approximately 150 workers. Hasbro employs almost 5,000 worldwide. Higher tariff costs have been given as the reason for the layoffs. Hasbro still imports, quote, around half of its products from China, despite efforts to reduce dependence on Chinese factories. That quote is from the article in Reuters that is down below in the description. So if you want all the details on this, and as well as a brief history of Hasbro's layoffs, and somehow still making money through all that, yeah, it's a frustrating dip into the world of big business just to screw with our toy show, which is really annoying. But
I like to do that, though.
Yeah, that's kind of life in 2025, unfortunately.
At least once every other quarter.
But so be sure to check that out. Again, we don't have a whole lot of details on this as of yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to my remaining contacts at Hasbro, which is, I guess, Mark Weber's remaining contacts at Hasbro. So I don't know the I don't know the actual bloodletting. From what I understand, the Joe team as we know it is fine. But we'll know more, I guess, in the coming weeks.
It's disappointing in general, right? Because we know that they are cutting back on toys,
right?
And you don't want to affect the lines that you collect and the passion, the hobbies that we have. Then you see how it affects individuals, right? And you say, well, those people without a job, and some of them were fans of the brand, like Mark was a fan of the brand while he worked there. And then afterwards, to different degrees that you kind of, can be happy for what you did and then upset at the different situations. And hopefully people will be able to bounce back. And, we know that there's a lot of stress in the world, no matter what's going on. And so the extra stress for folks that exists now with this, it's more than toys. It's more than a company. It's individuals in its lives. So, the hope is that everybody gets, on their feet and stays afloat as they need to, and they're doing okay.
Right. It's just again, it's there's something, something's afoot when we keep hearing about all these layoffs, all these big companies are doing. It's not just Hasbro. Yeah. And then they're still reporting gains for the last quarter. So if you're still selling and you're outdistancing your projections and then still laying people off, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So I just, again, tariffs are one thing, and that's a whole other kettle of fish, which I don't want to get into. Believe me, I've got a soapbox to get on, but that's not what everybody's here for. Yeah, it's very disappointing to see this sort of behavior just accepted as business as usual.
Well, the Hasbro logo still has the smile, right? You kind of go, "Oh God!" No, this is not the logo, right? You say, "Well, would they take that off?"
That was your soul,
right? I think my favorite thing about that Hasbro logo is what Dan Larson does with it, and has little fangs on it. And Hasbro till all are one, and then it swallows the screen. It's beautiful.
That's right.
It's a wonderful moment.
I mean, yeah, you don't want Hasbro to be, past tense. I know it's Hassenfeld, but yeah, that has, what, it's like was, in the past. Well, you want it to be in the future. You want things to continue on. You're talking about marketing to the younger generation, to fans that are outside, the bubble that has been created, in the last 40 years in different degrees, because there are people that, do share fandom with their kids, no matter how old the kids are. But you see stuff like that, and it makes you upset with the company, because it is business to some regard, that the care is up and down. That's hard.
I mean, we want Hasbro to do well. I mean, just to lay it out in black and 100%. White terms, right? We want them to do well. They own our favorite brand, which we've been doing a show about for 14 years, and some folks in the audience have been collecting for over 40 years. Like, we want Hasbro to continue to be strong and thrive and continue, and to make these products and these characters and these games and things that give us joy on both temporary and permanent basis. But come on, guys. I mean, it's just every 6 months, somebody else, another wave of folks is losing their job. When I first saw this yesterday, when I first saw this break, my first thought was, well, at least it's only 150 this time and not 900 over the course of a year. Right.
Yeah.
It's
Diana called it out there in the chat too.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Layoffs suck, and the CEO didn't get a pay cut. I don't know.
No, they never get a pay cut.
Yeah, it's never their fault. Look, I mean,
unless you're David Zaslav, get him.
I will give the CEO credit. They redirected towards, non-physical gaming, and that is widely credited for why they had a good first quarter of 2025. So it's not like he's got a bad plan. It's probably not his fault, but come on now. I mean, you're making $15 million.
Yeah.
150 people got to lose their jobs so you can make $15 million again.
And the rest of us outside of the company have cuts to some degree somewhere, right? Just based on the world at large. And so like you see that, and it just hurts in different ways. Yeah. And you hurt for the people, and you don't want to wish harm on anybody or detriment to the others. But yeah, it's tough when people have to suffer from the business. But it is good for the people who are still there, hopefully, and they're worked in double, some of them, right? Because we all know, most of us, like if you've been on a team and you lose 1 out of 10,
because they have to.
10% of work, where does that go?
There's no one else to do it, so they have to.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's enough of that. Next news item. I know, now I'm all freaking depressed. But in somewhat,
there's no heads.
Yeah, coming up this weekend, Headless Baroness and Headless Duke.
All right.
No, it's the G.I. Joe movies online auction that is happening at Prop Store, and you can see there that is going to happen from the 23rd through July 7th. Thanks to our friend Diana for sending this along to us.
She took the Duke head. Diana, do you have it? Let us know.
She probably does. Comment and no, don't leave a comment on that. Prop Store presents an online auction of over 180. Am I reading that right? Exciting costume and prop lots from G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, G.I. Joe Retaliation, and Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Bidding begins on June 23rd, 2025. So if you're a big movie buff, movie collector, be sure to head over and check that out. It's probably going to cost you a little bit, but hey, if you got it laying around and you love those movie props, and Lord knows I know some of you do. I am very, very friendly with most of Joe Declassified. I know some of the names that will be involved in the G.I. Joe movies online auction. But
I feel like if Mark Webber were here and there was an opportunity for a Sienna Miller, worn outfit or something similar, it'd be no, too sexy.
That's too sexy.
Joe ARH says, up next to the main stage, Destro's disembodied head. Do I hear a starting bid? We got 20, $20, $20, $25 down the aisle.
That says beryllium steel, ladies and gentlemen. Beryllium steel. He wears the gold one now with the red cape. He doesn't wear the silver one anymore. This is up for you. This could be on your mantelpiece. Are you an Iron Grenadier fan or a Cobra fan? Destro is here for you. That's what the interrogator does when he's not interrogating.
Here's Walton Goggins' socks.
Right. Oh, if only. If only.
I'd be curious to look and see how many things are on this now, right? Like, if you're a Firefly fan, is there something from G.I. Joe Retaliation that was like Firefly, costume or wear? Like, there's got to be some cool pieces in here, despite what you feel about certain parts of the movie, right? It's like if you don't like that movie or that whatever, like there's gonna be some cool stuff in here, and some of it must be affordable. So,
right. I'm with you on that. Like, I think people forget, right? Like the reason that these movies are generally derided in fan circles is because there was something in them that we liked, and it just didn't follow through.
Yeah.
I think we also need to remember that fandom circles are one thing, but these movies were generally well received by the public at large. Snake Eyes maybe not as much.
Retaliation for sure.
But Retaliation for sure, and Rise of Cobra too, even in that you still see them both regularly taking up blocks of airtime on cable. Like they're still there. Yeah, like
on the Rise of Cobra a lot. Yeah.
And it sounds like, oh well, nobody's watching that, and the answer to that is no, somebody's watching it. That's why they put it on. If it was something that nobody was watching, we would get like 6 hours of Harold and Maude or something that has aged terribly poorly. Instead of 6 hours of 3 back-to-back showings of Good Time, Blow 'em Up action and Rise of Cobra.
Sneeden and Gambello. That's the show you really want.
Right.
Harold and Maude. Wow.
Again, I was looking for something that people wouldn't watch on a Saturday afternoon and has aged terribly.
So there you go. I got to tell you. So, this is my first. I've been in the chat. I've been a viewer where there's times I didn't chat. There's times I chat, plenty. And then this is my first appearance on the show. But it's not my first time on the show. And this is the surprise drop. So you're welcome for this. I held the surprise for you. But Anthony Gambello was like, "Welcome back. It feels like you've never been gone." I know you wondered who gave you the flash.
I had an idea. Okay, I had an idea.
I figured, I was like, yeah, will I tell him during the show? I was like,
You were on the short list of people that it's like, if that turns out to be Jeff Butler, I'm not super shocked.
I was very happy when I saw that you put that in the open, and I was really happy that I realized like he remembered where I got the peeling potatoes from. And I was like, he put the image in there. I was like, okay, Mike knows exactly what's up with Flash. There it is. I was like, because that's where I took it from. This man's on me. They think that changed.
Ragtime Rob is the comics guy, but that doesn't mean that I don't read them.
That's right.
That doesn't mean I don't love them.
But I remember that from a coloring book, right? Like that image, I remember being in one of the coloring activity books before I'd ever seen it in this page. And I just remember thinking like, oh, that's how I first learned who Flash was. You'd see him on the range and see that image. And it's funny what stays with you, because he's not an active character throughout this or that. But yeah, I that during that time, that was during a little time where you were off in January. And I was like, okay, let me leave this message. And then you didn't get it on the show for like a month. I was like, oh, you didn't check the voicemail.
It was there. I just had to find the time to put something with it.
Yeah.
Because as I've always said, look, I mean, the phone number is there. It is down there for all of you. Whoever wants to leave a voicemail, we'll use it. We do viewer mail. We will be getting into the post sock later this very episode.
You're posting socking.
That we get to as much viewer correspondence as we can. If you want to leave us a voicemail, that option is there for you. We're not going to make you sit and write an email. And the reason why the voicemail gets that kind of treatment is because it's Google Voice and it goes to the same box that the email goes to. So again, it fits in Mike's very sticky parameters of, I only really check the email on a regular basis, send it to the email. The voicemail goes right to the email. So if you don't want to write us an email, well, I mean, leave us a voicemail. The number's down there.
And when you buy part of Adrian Palicki's Lady J outfit, you need to take a picture of you wearing it and send it to Mike at the What's on Joe Mine email. You need to be seeing it.
Mean, that's just it, man. It's not a picture of me wearing it. So yeah, I'll put it up. when Bart makes that purchase and sends in that picture, he's gonna think he's gonna win the dare. I don't care.
There you go.
I don't care. It's not my job I gotta go into on Monday morning with that. No, Bart does. Anyways, and Josiah Alcorn points out, plus we got a lot of cool tie-in toys. I mean, that's true. That's true, especially with the first two.
I've discovered more of those lately too. There's some amazing vehicles and really cool stuff that got made.
Yeah, Rise of Cobra was a well-served toy line. It was good stuff. It was good
Retaliation was kind of hampered by, oh, let's throw these toys out. What do you mean there's no movie?
Yeah. Retaliation, again, good toys when you could find them, but it was a little bit of a, what rhymes with Rit Show?
Yeah.
Anyways,
I got the Quinn figure only like a year ago. And I remember, oh, they made this. Like, I was so excited because I had the Quinn figure that came in the 3-pack with Scarlet Snake Eyes in issue 2.
right.
And then to be able to get the one that they made during the Retaliation era.
Yeah, those last two waves that had nothing to do with the movie, those are great.
That's cool.
Yeah. They're fantastic, and I
that
scored them.
Commander, that Snake Eyes, that Storm.
I scored them in huge quantities at Five Below. I love Five Below.
They got candy.
They used to have great toys. Now they don't so much have great toys, but they still have great candy.
Nobody talks about the candy at Ollie's. So
no,
because
it's bullshit. It's the stuff that melted. It's all stuck together. It all comes in a tin. It's the candy that your grandma would buy.
Werther's Original.
Right, when she wasn't thinking about it, right? She's not at the supermarket. She's not getting the bag of Snickers Fun Size. No, it's the tin full of wrapped. They might be cough drops.
I like the strawberry ones though. The ones that were wrapped up and look like little strawberries. Those are actually a good flavor.
No.
I like those. Yeah.
No.
You can eat the circus peanuts then.
No, that's
no one should eat the circus peanuts.
Our dad loves circus peanuts. That's a cheap way to get on my dad's good side is bring him some circus peanuts. The granny candy that I think is sublime are root beer barrels.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. That is great movie theater candy too, as long as
right.
you're not making noise this whole way.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're in a crowded movie theater with people in it.
Crunching them up.
And then not choke.
Michael Gene Fleming says Five Below does have nice mini food sets that are in scale with classified for dioramas. So if you ever want to do Joe's at the mess hall.
Microwave lobster thermidor.
Right. Do they have, because really anytime I'm going to the Five Below, I'm walking out with either Big League Chew, Reese's Nutrageous, or Charleston Chew. Like those are my Five Below standbys that I can't necessarily get everywhere else.
I like the certain ones like Charleston Chew, like they've had the same packaging for 40 years. Like they just, that's it. We got it.
Oh, at least.
We're recognizable. Don't touch it. Don't ever touch it. It's one of those.
40, probably more like 80 years.
Yeah. When was the last time they changed a Hershey bar label? You know,
Jedi Ben is in on the butterscotch disc. I am not. I am not a butterscotch guy. I'm a caramel guy. And that subtle difference is just. But yeah. Anyways, next news item. We're talking about granny candy with G.I. Joe movie lots of God. See,
Metalhead's grandma would eat it. Metalhead's grandmother would eat it. There you go.
If you we don't need to reference the rails, Jeff. You don't worry about that. Never apologize for being off the rails. Rule number 1 of What's on Joe Mind hosting: never apologize.
Hit the rail proudly.
Right. Just jump that rail.
We're not on the rails unless we're off the rails.
Hey, just Hasbro Pulse Fan Stream, Yojo June has been generally ignored, but we did get some new content today. So yeah, I just didn't want to tear down the graphic from last week with the canceled, so I just figured I'll throw a new sign on top of it. I'm so lazy.
Well, look,
he's doing what they
given
do.
By what we've seen from these, you're not the only one.
Right, that's fair.
Apparently, Hasbro's communication department also even more lazy.
JDO says, "Good evening, Joes." Well, good evening, JDO. Agent Chuckles had root beer and Mike and Ike's just the other day, which
it's Mike and Rob, right?
I mean, yeah.
Do you guys have your own candy, Mike and Rob's? Is your dad like?
No, and generally, like I said, our dad eats the weird candy. So just
he is a circus peanuts and black licorice guy.
Yeah, he is. I like it. He's the Halloween candy garbage disposal unit. It's just
right. He was a great guy to have with you on trick or treat night.
Dad'll eat it. He eats anything.
Right.
He likes it.
The stuff
that
want
a bit of honey?
The stuff you didn't want, he was all over it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind bit of honey. Bit of honey was okay.
No.
I think, although in fairness, I liked them as an adult. I didn't care for them as a kid. But I think more as I'm so much a chocolate candy guy that anything that was not chocolate just kind of bummed me out.
Candyman.
Jedi Ben asks, legit question, was the Joe team affected by layoffs possibly causing this bust of a Yojo June? Or no, I don't think so. I think if a name that we would have recognized as being high up in the Joe chain was affected, we would probably know and have it confirmed by now.
No,
so I don't think so.
Like someone in the comments mentioned, apparently they laid off the person with the password to the YouTube account.
Right. Again, I know nothing.
Yeah.
Sergeant Schultz here. But just judging on how that's worked in the past, usually when somebody who's up in the Joe chain of command is let go, we know about it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't think so is the best I can give you. But we did get some content today. We did get some YouTube's videos. We got G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, continuing the legacy. This was about 3 minutes with Skybound's Alex Anton talking about a little bit about working with Larry and 2 years in with the G.I. Joe license. And it was a nice little promo, but nothing of great substance going on there.
I wish they cared more about it in that way. Like, it's not just G.I. Joe tangential, but like if you help sell the comic can help sell your toys the same way it always did.
Yeah, the way it used to. Yeah.
The way it used to. Yeah. And like the fact that you have Kubert covers every month. I mean, you don't have to love this one or that one, but like at some point you go, oh, that one's good. That one's as good as anything I've ever loved. Like there's some good stuff coming out, and Kubert has been the go-to guy for the last couple of years for the Real American Hero books. And it's really cool that he's locked in on that, considering like, oh yeah, we had Kubert books back in, issue 90, 91, right? Like he's the Snake Eyes trilogy. Like it's really cool that he's on board, because he's pretty much legacy Joe comic artist,
Right.
So,
right. Look, G.I. Joe's doing really well. I don't think there was ever a time when it was a real poor seller, even through IDW, the end of IDW's run. They were still pretty well locked in for that 4,000 to 5,000 copies, but it wasn't gangbusters or anything. I think it's doing better than that now.
I mean, it disappeared when it was at Dark Horse under G.I. Joe Extreme, right? Like when it was miniseries, and then they tried to do a series, and then it just dropped off after the part 1 of like issue 5.
Yeah, I think they only did the 4 issues. Yeah. But yeah, it's Dark Horse.
I mean, I don't think Extreme even counts, right? Like it's
just different, right? You go, when was Joe canceled in the middle of anything? Like, not often, not very often.
Well, if it was IDW, all the time. But
oh, did they cancel runs? I guess I don't know.
They would constantly restart, try and get G.I. Joe outside of the Real American Hero, like their own continuity, and then they canceled that stuff. None of it lasted past a year.
Right.
I know when they got on like Dixon and they different artists and writer combinations.
Right. Karen Prentice's run got tidied up. She was signed on for 12 issues, and then they shortened her to 10. So it was kind of a different animal, because I think that was by design, Rob. I think they were bringing those folks in to do specifically to do a 12-issue run that they could restart.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, if certain comic book companies, I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent here. If certain comic book companies are going to restart their numbering all the time, I wish that they did what IDW did with G.I. Joe and gave each one of them a different title. Right? Like, Chuck Dixon's run was titled something. Karen Prentice is in the front of my mind for some reason, but hers was The Fall of G.I. Joe. So, like, they all had a different title to them, so they were easier to identify.
Yeah, he did a special missions run. That's right.
Right.
My problem with that is then build them as a limited series and don't tell me it's an ongoing, that you're canceling, they're pulling the plug on quick, because that makes it look worse.
Right. That's the other side of it. I mean, there's a little bit of truth in advertising wrong there, but
it's something Marvel does a lot of, where they basically
Right.
they don't have plans on anything past 12 issues, but it's basically a limited series, but they'll say it's an ongoing because they feel people will just wait for the trades and then they cancel. Yeah.
Agent Chuckles asks if that's a reckless hot take, and I would say no. It would be a reckless hot take if most people that I've spoken to haven't agreed with me. So again, all I have is anecdotal evidence on that, but it's a lot of anecdotal evidence because I mean, I'll be straight up honest. I just don't buy Marvel comics anymore because I don't know the timeline. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just
we'll give them
lost.
credit then for doing it in even 3 minutes, right? To support the one book that is definitely, one. I mean, they got two.
Right. Look, it could have been nothing,
running.
Jeff. It could have been nothing. I'm not here to bury this. I'm certainly not poo-pooing the effort. I wish that a little bit more had been put into it. Maybe you talk to Paul Pelletier or something like that. Somebody we don't hear from very often would have been nice. But still, we got 3 minutes of Alex Anton going on about his experience working on the G.I. Joe line for a couple of years. So that's
to be
something.
fair, there will be people who have no idea that this is going on. If they collect toys and not comic books, then this is going to be a first exposure for some people. And so in that regard, it's going to be successful enough to those people.
Right.
And that's fair enough.
Right. So again, I'm not poo-pooing this. It was certainly not the star of the show today, but I'm glad that it's there. And you should, when we're done, the link is, of course, down below in the description. Check it out once we're done here. Won't take very long. Again, just 3 minutes. But
this cover too. I mean, I see Cobra Commander was quoting Crocodile Dundee, and he was just about to say, "Now that's," and Destro's like, "Don't say
it." That was when Destro pulled his gun.
Cobra Commander was the guy who brought the knife to the gunfight.
Destro's like, what's not a knife?
A grunt.
That and these things on my arm here.
Along a similar vein, we did get the Energon Universe recap. This was hosted by Lenny Penzeca, head designer from Classified and chief fanboy at Hasbro. And he was talking with Joshua Williamson, who wrote the Duke and Cobra Commander series and has been writing the G.I. Joe ongoing for Energon. Talked a lot. Again, you got the spoiler alert on there. This is straight up the thumbnail from the video. Link to it is down below. They went for about half an hour.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
it was 3 minutes that we promo the other one.
It was a good talk. Joshua Williamson is that rare comic book writer that is good at talking about his own stuff. So it was a very engaging kind of talk, and he wasn't talking it up like it was his own genius. He was talking about his inspirations and what have you. Racktime Rob, you're the comic book guy.
Yes.
Give us your thoughts.
Well, number one, let me say off. I would say go ahead and watch the video, but make sure that if you're reading the books, you've read issue 8, because they do talk about it, and something will get spoiled. But
right. 7 and 8 are both kind of new, so make sure you have those under your belt.
Which is why I didn't watch the video until after I made my visits to comic book shop and read issue 8. But Joshua Williamson, like I said, he has been doing really strong work at DC for quite a long time. In fact, all of their big events, he's got a finger in. So
it sounds gross, Rob. It sounds personal.
Well, all right. He's got a hand in it.
Ew.
Not getting any better.
Not getting better.
Don't care. But
that does speak well for him, though, for them to actually give him this push then in this way to say, okay, we recognize the G.I. Joe work that you're doing, and we actually are going to give it a little publicity.
Yeah, he is single-handedly. Like I said, if you haven't been reading, he is the right guy to have on Superman right now because they're doing great work. And anybody who sees the movie and wants to go check out Superman comics is going to get a good read.
You think that'll be a good crossover for people? Like if they put Superman comics in the movie theater to be sold, somebody could come out from the movie and kind of go, "Oh, I'll pick one up."
If the movie's good, yeah, let's.
If the movie works out,
If the movie's good,
yeah.
If it's not Superman 4: The Quest for Peace,
right?
If Zack Snyder's not trying to make Superman, but
yeah. Quick sidebar. Rob and I actually had the argument last night of what was better, Superman 4 or Snyderverse Superman, and I'm interested to hear your take, Jeff Butler.
Okay.
Break the tie is what
okay,
I'll tell you. I won't tell you what side of the fence which of us was on.
Yeah.
Break the tie.
Okay, so I have to try to not come at Superman 4 from nostalgia because I saw it when I was 8 years old, probably. And you say Snyderverse Superman, are we just talking Man of Steel, or are we talking like Justice League?
I mean, I thought specifically, if you're talking about like, who got to play a better Superman, it's Christopher Reeve.
It's Christopher Reeve still. It's Christopher Reeve still. But because Christopher Reeve had a hand in the script, he had good hope for saying, well, maybe Superman should do this and be this kind of benevolent. And so he had a good thought about what Superman 4 was going to be. And the fact that, let's be right honest, Gene Hackman did not have to get that money for Superman 4. The same way, though, that Michael Caine got money for Jaws 4, The Revenge, right? Like, apparently it was right there to be taken. And so Gene Hackman is like, I'll take it, because he wasn't in 3. Like, they were able to go, let's do a movie without Lex Luthor. So then we'll bring him back. And then he'll have, a comic booky villain that he's working with or created. And then a nephew, like the fact that they have, Ducky, right? John Cryer, the cool Superman 4 connection, I think also is that he got to play Lex Luthor on the CW.
Yeah.
And he was much better.
And he was so good, right? He looked good, and he had the confidence of it as the actor and the age, and also the fact that he had been, Lenny Luthor those years before. And he's not ruining the movie, right? If you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. He's not, Snarf or Orko, whenever people say, oh, why did it spoil it? It's to bring in a youth, right? Like Snarf and Orko and these characters are there to bring in a youthful audience different than the one that we already had built in. Superman, by that point, had 10 years of film and presence. But with let's look at the Man of Steel. So Man of Steel was saying, okay, well, Dark Knight movies are doing really well for Dark Batman. We need to darken up Superman visually and in tone. And Superman has never played as well that way. The only way that I would say that does play well darker is when Superman 3, when you get the dark Superman against Clark, like in the junk field, and when he's at the bar and he's like in the he's shooting and he's straightening up the leaning tower as just because he's a jerk.
But the reason that works is because Superman's not supposed to be that way.
Because he's not supposed to be dark. Batman could be dark, and you go, well, he had.
That's their red kryptonite story,
Right.
Yes.
I'll maintain that it's lazy for Batman too, but keep it on. Keep going, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I prefer Superman 4 because I think that it's an enjoyment and a love of having Christopher Reeve in a fourth project. That cannot be sullied. You do get some weirdness in the story with he's going to fly Lois out of the orbit. He flies Mariel Hemingway out of the orbit. Like he tells Lois and then he reverses it again. Like in Superman 4, and I'm going, oh, I forgot all about that. So there's a little bit of nonsense that's going on there that you don't even have to count Nuclear Man or any of the other issues that are in the movie. But it is fun. It's dumb fun. It's a bad movie you can enjoy, and that is still a bad movie. But I have not gone back to Man of Steel in 10 years. I haven't cared enough for. It's not Snyder in particular because he's fine. He's fine as a filmmaker. He does the style well, but it's not my preferred DC. I never read DC in the 80s and 90s with a dark sensation. I always liked the brightness. I liked Booster and Beetle and all these people that were, making the bright side happen throughout the stories. And so I never loved the dark tone of it. There's moments in the movie that work really well, in Man of Steel in particular, and there's others that don't as well. And when it comes down to it, I can only remember so many beats of it because I haven't revisited as much, and because my favoritism of the lighter Superman is what leads the day for me. And that's why I think that the 90s cartoon was really perfect for them when they were lightening up Batman just enough, because they said, oh, well, let's bring in Robin and now Batgirl and the Bat family while they were doing Superman, because they were lighter than they had been when Batman came in after Batman Returns, because they could turn Batman lighter and by Batman Forever to Batman and Robin, like, and then eventually you'll flip him to Christopher Nolan's movies. But I think Superman doesn't flip the same way. I think when he flips, it's in story, it's with Red Kryptonite, it's with these moments where you just go, I don't want Dark Superman the whole way through, or have him face the ultimate darkness all the time. Like, there needs to be some joy in the Superman stories.
So I'll tell you, Jeff, that you have landed on the Mike side of the argument.
Sorry, Rob.
No, and like I said, I'm not. It's arguing the lesser of two evils at that point. I mean, Superman 4 is a bad movie that Warner Brothers didn't care about, so they farmed it out to the biggest blockhouse of the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, the effects.
The people who proudly brought you that mess of a Masters of the Universe movie that they
the
didn't
New
even
Gods
have the
movie.
money to
If you
finish.
watch it as the New Gods movie, you know what's more fun though.
It's I think, didn't they also do Samurai Cop? But anyways,
no, Samurai Cop is basically, that was some guy with,
some dude with a camcorder. I know.
That is literally a guy with a camera.
I'm making a joke about bad movies, but but that was my whole point, is that goofy bad was better than trying to be cool and missing horribly bad.
The thing that they never got about Superman is they kept trying to establish Superman as this great figure of hope, but then writing a story that completely undermined everything about that.
Right.
And let's face it,
had the Justice League, had the Snyderverse gone on, Superman becomes a bad guy.
And with Joe in particular, right? Like, that's part of the reason so many people don't like the Snake Eyes movie. You're like, oh, you're making him this jerk. He's supposed to be the hero we care about, and we care about Storm Shadow more than Snake Eyes in the Snake Eyes movie. And I think that there's an element of, like, you have to play true to the core of the character, right? And I think that when you try to get out of that to some degree, and people sniff around it and go, oh, that's really not the way I like it. Like, my favorite She-Hulk is the one who breaks the fourth wall, right?
Yeah.
The John Byrne She-Hulk stories and the one that they did for Disney with Tatiana Maslany, like, that's the way She-Hulk is best, because she's able to own that and have her own way of being universe. She's not just Bruce Banner's cousin. She's not just an extra Fantastic Four or an Avenger, whomever that happens to be a Hulk. Like, she has this world-breaking ability that nobody previous to her had, right? Deadpool came after, right? So in that way that she exists, that gives her more credibility to me as the core character than when she's not breaking the fourth wall. Because also you're like, oh, she's able to have more fun and go, it's a fun comic book, right? Even when it sucks for me, it's fun. Like, and she exists on that regard, that I think that there's certain characters that, we see when they try. They see when they try different things. You go, okay, well, they tried, but it didn't kill the IP. Another one will come around. That'll be all right. And they keep trying Fantastic Four, for example. So,
but to see what they, to take what we were talking about with Superman and like you tried to turn it to Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
I would have been okay had they made a genuine attempt to turn Snake Eyes into a good guy. It's fine if it's a different story, it's a different reality. He can have a different origin, but it was so half-assed in its execution that it just, like, nobody was buying it, right?
I need 2 Snake Eyes movies. That way I can have a whole ass.
Yeah, like the one
I love Mark.
The one character that they got wrong in Snake Eyes was Snake Eyes.
That's the detrimental piece of the whole puzzle.
The I mean, one like character, and I don't want to let me rephrase that.
They didn't,
because again, it's a completely new reality, so you can't say wrong. Wrong is not accurate. But the one character that they did poorly in Snake Eyes was Snake Eyes.
Yeah. And we're fortunate that they will consider making a new movie again one of these days too. Honestly, like, just because it's sunk it for this long doesn't mean it's sunk forever, because G.I. Joe in the next 5 years, you never know.
Right. But anyways, Ragtime Rob, back to the Energon Universe recap. Joshua Williamson, all kinds of bona fides from DC. I tend to be in your boat in that we did not freak out enough as a fandom when it was announced that he was going to be taking the reins on G.I. Joe for a while, because that meant it was in really good hands. He's not one of those old, 50-something type creators that we've grown up with. So I think we kind of missed the boat on how special his appointment to G.I. Joe was. Is that correct?
Yes, and I mean, and he is a GI Joe fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen other interviews with him before, like when the Energon universe was getting off the ground, and he was like, basically, his comment is, yeah, I have, all those classified figures, they're right behind me, right there. Just
we saw them in the thing today.
and I'm sure, and I'm sure that he probably gets them, from Hasbro now, but the early ones before he got this gig, he was buying them himself. So
right, he's out there with us, fighting Racktime Rob for stuff that's on the shelf.
Big boa gloves too.
Big got the big boa boxing gloves on.
But one bit that was revealed, again, I don't want to go into recapping the entire conversation for you. Needless to say, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a nice interview. Him and Lenny got to talk about some cool stuff. So check that one out. Link is down below in the description.
And this should connect, I mean, the fact that like they're talking. So like classified designs can be in the comic book, and the comic book might inspire like, hey, maybe this will be a figure, right? Like that kind of leads more into what people have thought before.
That was a point, actually. Williamson said that he was in the audience at San Diego when Lenny and the crew revealed Raptor last year. And he leaned over to his editor and said, we're using that in the book and we're doing it very quickly. And he's going to look just like that.
General Ledger's coming.
Right. So Raptor is in one of the books very soon, looking like the classified guy. And that's because, of the work of the classified team. So again, don't want to give too much away. So make sure you're up on the comics. Make sure you're caught up as far as the reading goes, and check that out. Only a half an hour of your time and a fun conversation. The one reveal that happened in that interview, Lenny revealed a Night Force 2-pack that will be coming at some point. No details given as far as when, what, how, etc. But Night Force Beachhead and Night Force Quick Kick make up this 2-pack. I maintain that this should have been just classified Quick Kick to begin with, mostly because I'm good with reinventing guys that need to be reinvented, and Quick Kick is in the top 5 list of guys who needed to be reinvented. So
of the guys who they didn't touch almost at all with the details, right? Like Barbecue, Quick Kick, like they could have played with him earlier on without having to be so devoted to the original design. Because even then I was like, give him his little slippers. Like, okay.
Yeah, just tennis shoes like that, like that Toys R Us one from Pursuit of Cobra had would have been fine, right?
Ninja
just
boots.
Anything.
Yeah.
But just barefoot again was just kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Anyways, Night Force here. These guys are loaded up. Beachhead looks like a straight recolor of the retro version that we got this past year. Quick Kick looks like he's a mishmash of a bunch of guys, maybe even the Quick Kick body with a vest. Legs that have been used several times, but all the Quick Kick's gear. He's got that ninja mask that I believe came with the Blue Ninja. It's difficult finding a nice clear shot of the renders. I apologize. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I can't quite see what it all is.
And so they didn't give Beachhead that beret again, right? They molded the one onto his shoulder, and they didn't give him one to take on and off because this is the carded Beachhead.
I believe so. Yes, it doesn't. I don't see a beret on there, so I don't think that.
I just see that red color up there, so that's what I mean.
Yeah. It's so again, it looks like the carded Beachhead just got a repaint there, and that's fine.
I'm surprised Quick Kick gets this many swords. Let's be honest. Like doing a 2-pack, I know they want to give you all the weapons, and to me, like it was always cool that he had nunchucks, and then he had some swords that went in the backpack, and the stars. The throwing star comes straight from the Excalibur episode of the cartoons, right? I love that he had those. I love that he would challenge Storm Shadow and he would lose. Like, let's be honest, like Storm Shadow was better, but Quick Kick was a fun character. He was an in for kids. Like, I mean, Lasers in the Night. He's quoting, there's a quote of Betty Davis, from like in that. I remember going, oh, who's that? I didn't know. And then years later, I'm like, wait a minute, I heard that in the G.I. Joe cartoon. So Quick Kick was a fun entry point for, as an adult realizing, oh, adults wrote this guy and they're having fun. He sang Barber of Seville cutting things, but it's weird he gets like these, scimitar looking swords in addition to the other two, unless they want him to be like, slashing through the jungle.
It's a repaint or Frankenstein 2-pack, and I think they just want to load it up as much as they can. So
Fair
people
enough, you're getting your
money's
worth. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to be able to give people more than they need, right? Like, that this won't all fit in the kit, or like on their backpacks and in their hands. But the fact that you do get, what's like a sniper rifle right there in the middle. I mean, you get a bunch of stuff here that you go use it for all your characters, use it for all your.
Yeah. It's not just these two figures. It's kind of a mission pack. So
yeah, that's why. That's why it's Night Force mission pack. Okay.
So I dig him. I'm certainly in for one. Duh, it's a beachhead figure. I'm probably in for one anyway. Tough stretch there, Mike. So I'll be excited to hear more about this. Hopefully they have some more details for us on the end of the month version, which
if they remember to do it.
if they remember to do one.
This is the kind of thing where people who just want the quick kick will go, okay, do I want the beachhead again? Do I need it? Like, for the people who only want one character done well, where they go, well, I like the retro card beachhead, or I like the original, and maybe I don't need this one the same way, but I want that quick kick because I like it better than the other one. There's a guy I follow on Instagram, Jersey Maniac, and he calls it the hostage pack, where you kind of go, look, you want Mercer, you got to buy another Sarge. It's like,
right.
I think this one is well put together, though, in that way that you say, yeah, that's a good pairing for the Night Force, the same way that Coral and the Falcon with the different face were put together. I think that they've done pretty well with these 2-packs in the last while. It seems like all the releases are pretty well thought out, knowing that, like, if you want this one, you'd probably be happy with this other one too.
Yeah, I don't mind the Sarge that came with Mercer. He's different enough and has enough new stuff that there's at least a reason to buy that Sarge and not feel bad about it. It's not like it's a straight repaint or anything.
I've had to cut back on the classified, right? Like, I've had some expenses that I've had to cut back on in particular, and for other expenses that are up and around. But I realized I was getting excited for stuff. I would acquire it. I would love it if I didn't open it for a while, because I said, well, it'll never look as good as it's in the box. Now I'll take it out of the box. Like, okay, and now how do I want to pose it? And I always would put two in like a bag. Like, I have a little baggie for everybody, so everybody's weapons will go in it. And the one bag you think, oh, will fit every size. Sarge was bigger and taller, so it was actually a stretch to game in the bag, as was the Roadblock, the heavy machine gunner Roadblock.
Yeah,
like that one bag size, you realize those figures were developed a little bigger for that. But I had to get to the point where I said, okay, if I'm just not displaying them, because I don't have display space for a bunch of classified, I have rotating space, right? I say, okay, this is the spotlight space where I could do that, and I just keep the same one out for like 6 months or a year, and realize I'm putting the other ones in the bags in the box. And if I needed to do some cuts, that's where I had to do some cuts. But I do see some of these and go, okay, yeah, if I'm going to get some, I'll do this. And the one thing about now not missing out on some of the pre-order stress, I don't miss the stress of pre-orders and realizing, I wasn't in for the 10 minutes that something was available on this site or that one. But the fact that a lot of the Joes that they've made have gone on good sale, and they're not altogether unavailable. The exclusives, yes, those are harder to get and are more unavailable. Anybody who's looking for a vamp with a clutch, I'll have one, at DFW Joe Show. I got one person in particular who's interested in it, and if he ends up passing, then it'll be available. But like, I'm letting my classified Serpentor go. I kept it in the box for over a year until I was like, I don't have a space for it as much as I want to. And I've spaced out with, other stuff here. Like, I did get a terror drone in the room and I made fit for it, but I realized, like, well, that can build with the O-ring passion and the O-ring displays and the rotation of stuff. And the classified, I had to kind of cherry pick a little bit, and I'll continue to do so. But a pack like this that actually is this well outfitted together, and with, again, the new design, because the beachhead doesn't sully the old one, and it adds up just enough to where it's better than the O-ring figure that has G.I. Joe on its leg.
Look, sometimes you forget what team you're on.
Yeah, you got to look down. All
my leg says I'm a Joe.
Oh, I got to shoot at the blue guys. Okay, good.
Yep. But I know there's interest of Quick Kick Hawaii has got that mask also, and I know part of that's part reuse too. But the fact that he's, I think he's cool looking here. If you look at it from a distance too, yeah, he's similar to like the spirit figure from 15 years ago that looked like Billy from Predator. This is like a Billy from Predator style, just from a little bit,
right?
Yeah.
That makes him cool, and that's a sell for some people too, because there's customizers who go, that's close enough, and then I can tweak it my own way.
I think he looks more like that than he looks like Quick Kick. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Quick Kick needs a redesign. Okay, he's running around a combat zone with no shoes, for God's sake.
It's character rehab. Yeah, there's a little bit of character rehab that, like, people who have the thoughts of how it was, like we talk about the cartoon and the image with the no shoes and the no coat in the snow, and you just go, okay, well, what else has he done? Yeah. And what else does he do for you? And what can he do for you now? This sells that.
I don't know if this was it either, though. That's just the thing. I'm just
okay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a Night Force pack, so you gotta. I think if you were doing that in more standard colors, maybe it would work a little better for you.
I thought that the thing they did with the Rise of Cobra Toys R Us exclusive was actually a pretty good look for Quick Kick myself.
It's got the yellow on it, right? With the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would basically Cobra Kai Quick Kick.
Yeah.
I got a Remco figure like from '86 or so that looks kind of like that. Like I picked one up, kind of going, oh.
Like, it might be a Karate Kid figure. They did do the
Karate Kid was the character. That's it. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. And so yeah, check that out. You'll get to see the render real quick. They do not spend a ton of time on it.
No, so they just mention it. Boom, in and out.
If you are just watching the interview for this, we'll save you the trouble because I think we've given it more time than they have by about 3 times. So
you're welcome, Hasbro.
Right. But so if that's all you're watching it for, save yourself the trouble. Otherwise, nice interview about the comic and the Energon universe and how things are progressing with Lenny and Josh Williamson. Next news item. Link down below. We do have a Skybound book that is out today. G.I. Joe 8 hitting the stands. Speaking of the Energon universe, as Racktime Rob said, he needed to pick it up before watching the video because there are some spoilers involved there. Really solid issue. Nice. This is a Baroness heavy issue. A lot of character work being done there. I don't want to talk about it too much because again, it just came out today. So we want to give everybody who hasn't had a chance to read theirs yet, or even pick theirs up yet, before we ruin things with spoilers. So,
but you can tell this is the crossover with Daniel Craig, James Bond. I mean, that's him right there. So if you don't want Daniel Craig, James Bond coming after the Baroness who works for G.I. Joe, just be ready for that because that I've read this book. That's what happens.
And he's dressed like Chuckles, like he was in Casino Royale.
Correct.
Aren't we all?
But great Baroness issue. We've also got some other characters who maybe have disappeared for a while, making their return without giving too much away. But if you dig the Energon universe, this issue continues the excellent work being done there. I have to admit, I know I say this every time an issue of this book comes out. I was so prepared to not like the Skybound shared universe. I really was. And I've got some quibbles. I don't think it's been just A+ straight across the board, but the G.I. Joe aspect of it, I think, has been handled superbly. I have just no real complaints. It's been a great run so far, and I hope it continues to be that good. If you're not picking it up, start picking it up.
Are you telling me? Because I've not been picking it up.
You should pick it up.
You should pick it up. I have the first issue, so I actually had I got the Duke miniseries in trade. And I have the Cobra Commander miniseries in the trade.
Well, the first 6 issues came out in trade last week.
That's the last week, right? Yeah.
So that's right there for you.
I was going to look at that. I wasn't as in love with
Destro and Scarlet in trade,
but the Destro I flipped through in the shop, and I thought about it that day, and then didn't get it. And I haven't seen the Scarlet one. I've seen reviews and things, but I was so in love with like the Real American Hero art that was been coming out, and just go, oh. Look what Mooneyham's doing. Like it was just so like gorgeous. And I wasn't in love with the zombie storyline, right? Like I really liked issue 301. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, this hit and miss and come and going. But the art was selling it. And the Paul Pelletier stuff I was digging too. So part of this is like selling is not just the story, but for the art for me. So if I'm going to be into the art on 1 through 6, then we'll see how I feel about it and getting into it. So because it's fun to pick up the trades, honestly, and kind of go.
Yeah,
okay.
you're not going to be disappointed. Andrea Milana's done a great job. So it's very much it's kind of old school. It's if I were going to compare it, I would say it's more like the Paul Pelletier stuff that's going on in the main book. It's more the classically drawn. It's not particularly stylized like Chris Mooneyham's art is. It's but I would say it's not going to disappoint you. It's not going to be distracting on the other end either. So
this is the
Energon's
artist from the
been
Cobra
great.
Commander. So
Energon has been great. So again, the trade's there for you. Just pick up the first trade. You'll pretty much be there. And then before you know it, the second trade, and then you're off to the races.
So fun fact, I did a review on my YouTube channel that was about the softcover trade of the Transformers Compendium 1 that came out. And that was 1 through 46 plus the Headmasters miniseries, making 50 issues. And I was one of the people who, so I bought the Kickstarter set of the hardback G.I. Joe run. I wanted to get all those, and I'm such a fan, and got them in the Joe colors. And I passed on the Transformer stuff. I was like, oh, I don't need all that. And I know how heavy the Joe one is, and space wise, how much do you care about it? So when the soft cover was coming out for the Transformers, the Marvel run, which I know is just fun, like those first 46 issues is so much more fun than it got later. And later, I mean, it's still fun, but like the gravity of the stories is deeper and different. They're killing a lot more characters, and they're bringing in toys, and there's different storylines. But the original Marvel stuff, when I picked up the soft cover too, I didn't realize how light it was going to feel, like even with that paper. And I did a review of it. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do a channel where I actually have some video content, I looked, and like that week there was nobody that had a video on yet. And then since then, I mean, there's people with longer form stuff, and I did mine 3.5 minutes and realized like I was reviewing the book, but also dealing some of my style in there. So if anybody looks at my YouTube, I can throw the link in probably, but
and it's got the Marvel stuff in it, right? Like the Spider-Man issues in
Spider-Man is in issue 3. They have the covers in between each of the ones. So like they don't have the Marvel title on the reprint of the cover. It doesn't say Marvel inside, but yeah, Spider-Man's in there. I mean, they haven't cut anything to my knowledge, right? And I haven't looked in depth to see.
The Circuit Breaker appearances are there, and
Circuit Breaker's all there. Yeah, it's fun. Like I just, it's easy to forget how fun those first 40 issues really are of Transformers, and how fast they run up to get all the toys in, and caught up. But I did a review of that, and I was like, okay, we'll see if I can get some more coming for the channel soon. But that was
my main criticism of the Transformers book is that it really was. I mean, it really was just okay. This toy's coming out, crank the story out. This toy's coming out, crank that story. It really was the service of okay, this is the toy that we got to a lot more than G.I. Joe was.
It's fun to see the different art styles at different levels too. Like you get into the issues of like the 30s, and they have a Man of Iron issue where it's like, oh, okay, this is UK. This is a UK artist, and it's a story that just completely breaks, the flow, where you're just like, oh, there's the issue before it and the issue after it have nothing to do with each other. But it was a random piece to kind of go, oh, it's a filler, but it's cool and different filler for at the time where you wouldn't have gotten the UK book, in America to see it. And now even to look back and go, oh yeah, Graham Nolan, who co-created Bane with Chuck Dixon, like one of his early comic book issues is this Bumblebee centric issue. And it's really fun to look back and then to see that kind of stuff the same way people when they discover that Todd McFarlane did Joe, go, oh, he did issue 60 and then 61 got taken off to be special number 1. But it's cool to be able to look in hindsight of that stuff too.
I think they tried on those Transformers Marvel books. I think they tried to be more like the pacing of Joe. They tried to set up their core of characters that stayed, and I don't think the sales were ever there to give them the clout to carry it out.
There's a lot of Ratchet early, and then there's a lot of Ratchet later when he and Megatron have some stuff later without spoiling it. But there's
when it was at the end of the toy line, all those characters were duds.
Because there's the one issue very much in particular when you get to issue 50. Hang on to see if your guy makes it. It's like
spoilers.
They just probably wipe the table of the toys the same way the movie did. as much as people love Transformers the movie, right? Like I was never as in love with it the
Yeah.
same way I was with Joe movie, because Joe the movie didn't just wipe the slate of all the Joes the way the Transformers movie did and say, here's the new characters, the new toys, you must fall in love with them. With the Joe movie, they melded those, right? You had a lot of the care there. And I mean, to be fair, of course, that first act, you're taking Neil Ross's characters off the table, and Lady J and Snake Eyes and Quick Kick and Snow Job. Like, these are favorites, and we're putting them away. And so then the other favorites get pocketed differently, where you go, okay, well, here's Flint, he's here. Here's Lift Ticket in this moment, kicking Falcon out. Like, and you get these moments where just
they were focusing. I mean, they focused very much on with the exception of Duke. They didn't have any plans to kill anybody.
Yeah, no.
But they took them.
You can find Crankcase in the movie. I remember the first time I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow, Crankcase is in this movie too. And Scarlet with the darker hair who's grown long. So you get the blonde Scarlet in the miniseries, and then you get the shorter haircut, from the darker hair figure. And then by the time the movie is, like, they gave her the long hair and it stayed dark. So it's almost like CoverGirl has a little bit of an evolution in the movie that's just secretly for all of us who are nerds enough to see it. Anyway.
I remember when I was in college, we rented G.I. Joe the movie, and I impressed everybody else in the residence hall by being able to point and name every character as they came on screen.
Yeah.
And then I would pause for the group shots and go through and point to each individual guy and still remembered all the code names.
I love that so much, because when I first did that with a DVD, I remember looking, going, I wonder if they have every single guy in here. Because that's when you can see them running in the Statue of Liberty and going, okay, that's where he is, and he is, and he is, and they're not in the movie. And then you look and see the ones that are on post. You go, oh, he's here, he's here, he's here, and that's the only place they're in the movie. And being able to find the ones who might be missing, but the fact that they really did a good job of saying every Joe that we have can be here somewhere. Hopefully, I mean, you don't have Admiral. I was going to say Keelhaul, the Admiral Ledger. Like, you don't have Admiral Ledger, you don't have Colonel Sharp and Sparks and different ones, but in the sense that they put the figures in of everybody that they could fit somewhere. I thought that was really cool. I actually have the Blu-ray coming in the mail. It was supposed to be here yesterday, and now it's due tomorrow. And I realized before, because when you put stuff on your Amazon list for later, put it in the cart and then say for later. That way you can keep an eye on it. You can see prices go up and down on certain things. And I got a Sergio Leone book that had dropped 40%. And I said, oh, I got to get that. And the Joe movie on Blu-ray had dropped down $5. And I was like, oh, it's under $20 for the first time ever. I never see it under $20. I'll finally get it. I'll get it on Blue. And it's coming. But I got to meet Larry Houston, the storyboard director. I got to meet him recently at a Comic-Con, C2E2 in Chicago. And he was there with the X-Men vocal cast and everybody. And he told me later he was so happy to come in. Oh, he's in the trial. Diana's got it. That's right. That's right. Okay. Question for all of you then while we're on this. Is Slipstream one of the guys sitting in there? Is he one of the officers in the trial? Because that was always my question of, if Slipstream's an officer, is he sitting on there? Is that Wild Bill that's sitting in there? And I've actually meant to ask you guys that, and I'm asking the chat as well.
It's spotty to me because I keep trying to cross it with the court-martial scene in The Traitor, season 1, and Wild Bill is in the courtroom in that one as one of the officers.
Is he in his cowboy gear? Or is he in?
No, he's in his dress greens, I believe. He doesn't even have his hat.
Because I always thought that's him in the movie too, but then I realized that might be Slipstream also because he's.
I haven't seen
Dinosaurs.
The movie front to back in enough time. Diana's it says yes, and that's generally good enough for me.
That's me too.
But it's been too long for me. But yeah, Bill, Slipstream, and Ledger is what she says. So I'll take that.
I'm
gonna guess that she has watched Duke die more recently than I have.
It's pained her for as long as anybody. Yeah, so I understand that. When I got to meet Larry Houston and we were talking, and he talked X-Men with most people all day, and so I was like, do you have anything Joe to sign? I totally forgot to bring my movie to get it signed, but we chatted for a good while. I mean, at least 20 minutes before someone else came up, and then I was like, well, I got to buy something, and I bought this X-Men print, so I could give to him. Absolutely. But because before that we had been chatting, and he pulled out his phone and he pulled it up and he set it there in front, and he started to play the opening of the movie. And he started talking about, because he was talking about like all the balloons. So he said, oh, we were going to do these balloons. I was like, how many balloons do you want? And they said, oh, as many as you can fit. And I was like, are you serious? Like, because he knows how much animation there was with this and that. He wanted to show it to me. And they were talking, because I had said something before, but what about this? What about that? And so I got to enjoy the opening sequence of G.I. Joe, the movie, with Larry Houston live storyboard commentary right there. And I said, right there, was it your idea to put these characters in it? He said, yeah, we were told to fit and use as many as we can. Like, and so like we were saying, we're spotting these guys. Larry was instrumental in putting those in. And it was great to hear him talk about the effects and like the undershot of like the Cobra parachuting down. He's like, I wanted something to be dynamic. And so like, he's coming right in and then smashing the camera, showing the glass. We couldn't show the glass breaking on the TV, but we could for the movie. And you start to realize the things that, I've seen Bruce Timm bits where they said, no broken glass, no drug syringes, no alcohol bottles, no cross, no things. And you just realize like, I was just like emotional, feeling like, I can't believe he's showing me this. And I had asked him, I said, so here's the thing I want to ask you, because as much as I love that, I love the opening sequence as well, where it's like the fly gets eaten by the bigger bug, who gets eaten by the gator, who gets tackled by the stun, and then you see Cobra Law coming. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's the next biggest thing coming. And I said, so Pythona sequence is brilliant, and you get to have the violence in there with the components that are there that you couldn't have in the show. You're like, well, that guy dented the wall with his helmet. He's probably dead.
Right.
And I said, I was watching Nick at Night and seeing Get Smart. And I was like, Maxwell Smart would walk through this set of doors, and this set of doors, and this set of doors. Is that what Pythona's doing? And he looked at me. This is Larry Houston. He looked at me and said, Jeff, that's exactly where that reference comes from.
Right. Get Smart.
So Pythona would Get Smart. That was news to me. I had no idea.
If you go back to the time before the video, Justin Bell and I got to sit down with Larry Houston.
I want to hear this. Yeah.
And so it's there. Just search. He's got his own tag on the audio files.
He's such a good guy.
But yeah, we were super prepared for that interview, and he started talking about stuff we didn't even know to ask the questions for. So it was a truly one of the great interviews that we did.
That's awesome. I like that Diana mentioned here about him not having music to storyboard that. That's they hadn't written, because that music just makes it perfect.
Yeah, they hadn't written that theme song yet, or they hadn't fleshed out the theme song yet.
Yeah,
I guess it was the same one as the cartoon show, just kind of expanded.
Yeah.
Anyways, so G.I. Joe 8, to bring it all the way back, on newsstands as of today. Be sure to go ahead and out to your local comic shop and pick that up. We got some Skybound bits. Also today, Real American Hero Trade Paperback Volume 3 is out. Next week, Void Rivals 20. And then on July 2, Real American Hero 318 hits the stands.
One of the Void Rivals is Pepto-Bismol, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure what the joke is in that, but
I don't know. It's about voiding your bladder.
That's so it would be Imodium. It's Pepto-Bismol and Imodium AD. It's
the 318 already too. That's cool. Considering it doesn't seem that long ago that we were wondering, said, oh, who's going to get the license to the comic? And that was about a year's worth of time, and now we're 18 issues in.
And from when you lose that void battle, remember to try Depends. That's right. When you've got juice loose in your caboose, put some Depends on that end. You'll be as happy as that guy.
I don't know if I've ever been as happy as that guy.
I don't think so either. I'm thinking, like, my wedding day, I wasn't that happy. And as it would turn out, with good reason. Next news item.
I know you're married, but I don't have a comment for that. I'm not going to.
Right. It's not safe for you.
I don't know.
Just let it go, man. Just let it go.
Let it go. Let it
it's
go.
Not safe.
I'm keeping mine. So.
Hey, the swag shop is having its sale right now.
Oh,
it's actually incorrect. You are saving 40% on t-shirts.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So that $23 tee is just $15 until June 23rd. Sweatshirts, mugs, magnets, stickers, caps, and more, all on sale. Deep discounts. Best sale of the year. It is equal to the one that they throw on before Thanksgiving. so you can get your crap in by Christmas time. But make sure you get yourself set for all of your Joe show stops this summer. Get your What's on Joe Mind merch at the swag shop on TeePublic. Link of all things down below in the description. Who knew?
Get the kids set for back to school.
We don't have pens on the swag shop, Jeff.
No.
We actually have to be at a show.
Yep.
For that. We hand those out. I actually have to thanks for writing. I actually have to order new pens.
Those are our Archon exclusives.
Yeah, we're out of the blue and white, so I have to figure out a new color combo for.
When I got mine at the DFW Joe show a year before last, I was like, okay, you have to take a picture of me holding the pen and the card so I can send it to Mike and Rob.
And
that's
there
the picture in the
there we go, using it for our own nefarious purposes.
Yep.
I tell most of our guests that if you don't send me a shot that I can use, that you want me to use, I'm just going to go find you on Facebook and steal something. And they're all like, yeah, whatever. And then, suddenly you've got Eric Aranya's head on Andrade's body. And he didn't think I was capable of doing that. And there you go.
Phil at this point is like, oh, what more can you do?
Right.
He didn't believe your C- Photoshop skills.
Right. I mean, in fairness, if I could superimpose Eric's head on Andrade's body in real life, he would want me to do that. Because have you seen Andrade? He's beautiful.
Andrade.
He's a beautiful man. So if I could superimpose my head on his body, I'd do it.
That's where I put in the Mariah Carey Jeff. I don't know her.
Also part of the sale, the 14th anniversary Sky Striker t-shirts right there for you again, 40% off until June 23rd. So be sure to get yours.
I like the design.
Jake Rose asking, where would I find it on streaming? I'm presuming that you mean G.I. Joe the movie. Shoot. I mean, you can find it in any number of places on YouTube. I believe the Hasbro channel does have it.
I think Hasbro channel has had it officially.
Yeah. But there's lots of folks who have uploaded that as a nefarious means to boost their own post count or eyeball count. So if you do get you on YouTube, make sure you're catching it from one of the official channels, because
looks like it's free on Tubi.
Yeah, those guys don't.
Tubi does have the animated series, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Tubi for a free service. Tubi is incredible. But so if you are going to search the YouTubes, make sure you go to the official ones, because I get mad when those folks steal other people's stuff, put something on the border, and upload it because they know they can't do anything to them. That's just bullcrap. And we would have a lot more subscribers ourselves if that's the sort of thing we believed in doing, but we don't, because it's cheap.
I give you permission to use my likeness in this stream.
We have a picture of you holding a pen. We'll probably beat it to death.
I don't guarantee that I'll dress to match the picture every single time.
All right, fair enough.
Special time.
Fair enough. I suppose every time would be a little bit of a strong ask. So, okay.
Every once in a while, you got to do laundry.
True.
Yep.
True. Next news item. Hey, remember too, Jamie Sullivan's GoFundMe is still active. Link to that is down below. He's getting pretty excitable. He's got some appearances coming up. So make sure you are following, I believe it's Jamie Sullivan's art page on Facebook to get his full calendar. He is close to being able to afford the surgery that will save his foot, because his insurance company decided they didn't want to do that. So if you've got $1, $2, $5, whatever you got laying around, shake it out of the couch, send it on over to Jamie Sullivan's GoFundMe. The link to that is down below in the comments. So when we're done here, I know I've given you 8 links or something today. This one's the most important one. Be sure to check this out and help Jamie Sullivan, a noted and important G.I. Joe artist of the last 15 years, in getting this taken care of. We want our guy with us for a while, and and that's going to be tough to do when you got a foot that keeps getting infected and won't heal right. And finally let's get him fixed so he's with us for forever.
And he will be at the DFW Joe show.
Yes, he will
be there December, June 27th, 28th, and 29th, part of the Artist Alley there. So if you want to see him and buy from him directly, and I'm sure he'd really appreciate them.
Correct.
He might be at Joe Fest this weekend. I don't actually know too.
I don't know. Again, head over to his art page on Facebook. He's got his full schedule there. Yeah. Greg Augustin coming to bat for us again. Where would we be without Greg Augustin today? I don't know. We've got
I would have had less to talk about in the first 15 minutes of this.
Right. Between Greg and Diana, why did I do any sort of prep for today?
You didn't need me at all, after all.
I didn't need nobody. I just sit and I'm sounding like a jerk, but no, I do appreciate when people have legitimate factual information to share when we ask for it. No, Jeff, only I get to kick you off the show. And I'm not going to do that.
You'll get no reprieve.
Not this episode. This is your freebie.
I'm going to kick me off the show and make you talk.
Oh.
All right. So, Rob's gone too. Okay, everybody. This is where we have to spill the beans. Okay. Tell him how much you really, really don't like Beachhead. I mean, really, really. Tell him.
Oh, that's all for Jeff. That's all for Jeff. No more for Jeff.
I got this in.
He's talking and talking and talking away, and he's muted, and he doesn't even know.
He's got a Three Stooges thing.
Right. Anyways, next news item, Rob. Remember, we may. Oh, there he goes. My bad. Hit the wrong button. But remember, we may be seeing some leaked factory photos. Be sure to get all of your advanced news picks from Surveillance Port. And really, they're good for all kinds of Joe news during the week. In those days in between team streams, Surveillance Port's the place I always go to get my G.I. Joe news. Find them at surveillance-port.com. Check out all of Eric's hard work. Be sure to leave a comment and tell him how much you love him too. Surveillance-port.com.
Ask him if he thinks that bat has a human arm with human skin in the artwork there. The way that the original bat on the card was drawn. Ask him that every week.
He does. That's a dude who put on a bat face to protect himself.
It's a Ben Cooper bat costume.
Right.
I can imagine a Cobra Viper that would have hollowed out a bat helmet to use actually in the field. That sounds like a merciless kind of a thing to do.
John Toole says he's missed us. Well, we've missed you too, John.
I think that'd be a dumb thing to do because that was the thing that they were allowed to shoot on the cartoons.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a bad plan.
That's true.
It's a terrible plan.
You were better off as a Viper.
Because that weapon right there too. I mean, like who you had that weapon? Like, no, that's a surveillance port gun, right? Like that's part of the port. Yeah.
It looks like it's a modification of the gung ho grenade launcher. Yeah.
I believe it is a remold of the gun that was mounted on the Slugger. So yes, you are correct, but that's where it first happened.
I get there was a point at which I realized oh man, I love the cards, right? Like so I was gonna buy all the card art that I could, and I was getting them before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, I was still buying stuff, and I was able to complete 90. I think I've got 96 to 98% of all the 82 to 94 cards. There's some variants I don't have, but I have all the buzzer cards with the file cards. I got all the 85s that are peach or gray, but different ones I don't have the certain stickers, whatever, but certain art, right? But when I realized I kind of want that. I want the Forward Observer, I want the box for it. And then there was a guy on eBay that was selling it, in the box, and not mint in box. It was open, but loose complete. I was like, oh yeah, great. Like $50 probably. And I've got it. And I said, oh, okay. Well, now I want the bivouac. Right. And it's like, okay. And it's, in there, it's in the box. And so I decided to get and I have them where you can't see them here, but I started to get all the stuff that was the boxes that would hang on the peg that are that size, and for the most part, everybody's looking in the one direction: outpost defender, mountain howitzer, checkpoint, the law, watchtower, air defense, mortar defense unit, machine gun defense unit, and missile defense unit are facing the other direction. But and then actually you can see bivouac and forward observer unit are way up there on the wall. They're actually right there next to this gem case that is an amp, right? Like that's a speaker that you can plug your Walkman into, and the little speaker will play. But otherwise, I think it looks cool on top of my my tower on the wall there. But I was getting all these, and I got the surveillance port. That was one of the last ones I actually got. That was what was leading me into this. So when I got it, I didn't have the room on this part of the wall anymore. But then I got it, and I was like, oh, it's the surveillance port. It can be on surveillance port in the other corner of the room. And so some of these kind of tell a story, because I've even got like the night landing and the hydro sled, and behind them is the Cobra Claw and the flight pod. And so visually, to me, it's like they're flying over water up to where Firefly's landing, and they're sneaking up on the outpost defender and the rest of them. So I'm a box art fan in that regard, and nerd enough to have put them in a story order.
All right. I don't know if that's 3 minutes we're ever going to get back.
Yeah, no, I've not told that to anybody, and I think this is the place to drop it.
Confessions.
Creepy 1825 King says Cobra. Well, all right then.
I just have Carson's massive book.
Right.
That means you have me in the front of that too, because I'm in the opening pages of that with my little brother. So that's us in our t-shirts. I'm in a Cobra Commander t-shirt, and he is in a Toxo Viper t-shirt, and that was us.
Oh, there you go.
Right there. And when I convinced him to do a modern remake of the shirt,
Then and
that's
now,
us in the exact same place in my grandmother's old house from that shot.
Andrew Galgan asks, as it's Yojo June, isn't Joe Colton legally obligated to appear at least once? You know, I tried that and she punched me. So no.
She said, I still have this baby. And
it happened. She drove in just to punch him, and then turned around.
Creepy King asking, when do we find out the new HasLab? Next week.
If they're
Emily said next week. Provided there is in fact a live stream next week. And that brings us to the end. The G.I. Joe 3D Printing Podcast is happy to bring Chonky Tank Kitty and his Meowler Tank to the masses. I don't know if they're doing anything like that this year. We're not at Joe Fest, so it's I'm not sure they even have a table or a booth to be set up at. So make sure if you see Mark, just get the start. We talked to Mark last week. I don't remember. I don't think they have a table though. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the news.
All right.
We'll take a moment here, give you a break, and listen to our wonderful friends and sponsors at Kokomo Toys.
We buy, sell, and trade vintage and modern toys. G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Transformers, Marvel, DC, and more. Located in beautiful downtown Kokomo, Indiana, we are open every Wednesday through Saturday from 12 to 5. It's a theme park of nostalgia. Join the thousands of people who have traveled from all over the Midwest for over a decade to buy and sell with us. Get your geek on.
All right.
One day I'll get there. One day I'll be able to drive over there. It just
I mean, you're only in Illinois, man. I don't know
it's a day's trip to there and back, even hour in the shop. So we'll see one day.
It's a poor excuse, Jeff. Poor excuse. You're in Illinois.
My local shop gets all my money. But yeah.
I suppose that's okay. So long as you're spending local, right?
I've been really lucky. The local shops that I support, in particular, Toy Du Jour, Kapow Collectibles, Smash Toys, and Quake. Those are the four in Chicago that I support. I had been real lucky too, because there was one day that my laptop's on the engine thing.
Oh, okay.
There was one day that I had gone in, and all of a sudden you just look in the corner. I'm like, is that for sale? Oh yeah. And it was a wrapped up Defiant, like the shuttle and the command center part. Like it wasn't the gantry, the crawler. but it was just the booster, a space station and the shuttle. And I said, I'm not leaving here without those. Those were white. Like they look so great. And like there's a few pieces missing, kind of go, okay, I can probably get that one. There's a few pieces I still haven't gotten, but I remember kind of going, I have to get that here. I will never get the gantry, the crawler. I won't have space for it. So actually here you can see the Crusader I have right here. That is my childhood Crusader that I had. Luckily, it was in Texas storage in non-climate controlled 20 years, and it did not yellow. I don't know how it didn't yellow like some of these plastic things, but the Defiant one, I have the shuttle actually on this up here. There's some different things that I have on the wall across up here, including some Tiger Force stuff, Brave Star in 3030, Pee Wee's Playhouse with a bunch of different characters that never ever used to go in the Playhouse, like including Gilligan, Homer, Wally, Spider-Ham, Queen of Hearts,
all the regular.
Just fun stuff, but getting that shuttle and getting some of that stuff, like being able to get the Terradrome that I got from Sam at Toy Du Jour. He's great Joe lover and a great business and great friend to be able to kind of go, okay, yeah, right. Like I'll take your classified Dragonfly, unopened, unbuilt, and figures, and I'll sell you this, Terradrome, not straight up, but I mean to be able to use for that. And it's great to be able to support local. So like anytime that you do advertise Kokomo, I realize that is local for y'all, and I think it's great that you do that.
Yeah. Sam is good people. He is a longtime friend of the show. So
he is.
He's not in the sponsorship spot, but
yeah.
we have an easy alliance with the folks at Kokomo. I bring them donuts, and they give me the beachheads that are kind of beat up. So everything's good there.
That's fair for donuts too.
Yeah. Right. Look, I bring them the good donuts. I don't show up with no Dunkin' Donuts bull crap. No, yeah. I get the local donuts.
That's the best kind to get to. As far as Dunkin's good, right? And you go, okay, well, but like the local stuff, you go, yeah, these people woke up early.
Yeah, like Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is fine. I don't want to. I just know I just called them bull crap, but they're fine. But they're no local donut shop. Local donut shops are always better.
Yeah.
Anywho, I digress.
Did you want to talk about the DFW Joe show? I got some of the information up here.
Yeah, certainly, by all means. I was looking for a segue, and you just kind of spilled it. So okay,
I'll just poke it right in. Boom, right. Button. So the DFW G.I. Joe and action figure show is June 27th, 28th, and 29th. It's at the DFW Airport Marriott in Irving, Texas. It's a bigger locale than had been. They've been at the Grapevine Convention Center the last couple of years. I had actually only been able to go to the show for the first time 2 years ago, and that's the year that I have with the pen and the image. But last year, I decided I was going to have a table. I have some stuff in Texas that, had for years. Texas is my home state, and my mom lives down there. And I had stuff that I just realized, like, I'm never going to get it up here. I only have so much space and things. And there's things that you realize you can let go, and you want to let them go to collectors and the hands of the people who can love them, right? Like, and you sell to toy shops, which I've done plenty of up here, to Sam, to Quake, to a few others. And just to be able to get them to people, who care. But when I was down there, I was like, oh, well, I want to go to that show anyway. Oh, okay, maybe I'll set up a table. I'll let some things go. I'll still be able to enjoy the show. And so last year I did that. And first thing that I sold was a Tiger Rat. It was my childhood Tiger Rat. And as many of the missiles as I had. And, the front landing gear was busted, but that's typical. And, at least the cockpit, canopy looked good. But like there was a guy and his son, and they were the first ones there. And we were talking about it. And I went lower on the price for him than I would have otherwise because it was the kid. And I don't necessarily do that for every kid. You can't for everything, but there was a passion for being the Friday night there and being with it. And I was like, oh, is it for the adult and the guy, and like the kid is kind of talking more than the man is, what if the kid is the ploy to get it for the guy? But I'm like, and they said, no, that kid really wanted it. I was like, okay, well, I was glad to got it for him at that point too. And anything else, like I only sold to one other father with a kid at the table, and that was Sunday, and it was my 92 headquarters, which had some pieces missing because I had gutted pieces of that before to outfit one that I've got up here that is complete. Sure. But it had enough to be playable and to be at a good price. I mean, I don't know if it was $50. I gave him a pretty really good deal on it for that because I need to let it go. And that kid was all into it. He was like 12 years old. He was looking at this part, how this folded out, and I showed how the tower collapses with this action feature. And the dad was trying to get the money for it. Like, he's like, do you do this? No. Do you do that? No. I was like, I'm just a guy with a table. I don't know what to tell you. I was like, eventually, like, he came back having gone to the ATM, which was my suggestion the first couple minutes, but he finally did. And he bought the thing. And I didn't take like purchase photos from anybody else, but like him and that kid, because I knew how happy that kid was in that day and how much that dad really went to that effort. And those are the kind of moments that are really great. But in between, you know, I've had a lot of extra expenses. My mom has dementia now and lives in a care center, and I can't keep the stuff at the house. I can't keep the stuff in storage. And I've taken on more things that I said previously that like I can't afford everything classified because I have other expenses to cost, and then, you know, still have my own life and my own things here. But to be at the Joe Show allows me to get down to Texas to visit some people and to do some business, and then to go to where my passion is at. It's like, it's the Joe Show where I can make more friends and see people. Zakanan became a friend of mine last year. We sat at a table with a bunch of these other guys. I didn't know Daniel Feeney, roll keeper. He ended up at that table. I didn't know Quentin Bedwell. He was at that table. Lyle Convoy was at the table. A bunch of these guys. And hour and a half later, Zakanan and I were pals. And I was just on stream with him a couple weeks ago, and we've been friends this year, right? And that was cool. That was a cool thing. I met It's Chad for the first time at that show, and we've been friends for 2 years up to that point, now 3. And being able to see Larry again, I met Larry Hama a couple times, and he was there. Kirk Bazigian I'd never met before last year, so he was there, and he's just wonderful. It was a Sergeant Slaughter cosplayer, and he was right there. He came up and he got a picture with Kirk, and then Kirk was like, "It's like, hey, let's get one of all 3 of us." And that's Kirk Bazigian's camera. Like, he's asking me and the Sergeant cosplayer to be in his photo. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool.
What always takes people by surprise. Kirk is the biggest fanboy of them all.
He was such a fan of everybody. Yeah, he was having such a good time. He's sitting next to Dan Klingon-Smith in the books, and like I didn't give it. I had Kirk sign my Fun School law card, and the law card looks like kind of ugly, right? So like somebody told me, they're like, he's gonna punch you for that. And it's like, he didn't. He signed it, and then I also got his, you know, this other like mini poster sign that had his rules of on it with law. And it's just great to be able to meet these folks, right? Like, you meet Ron, you go for Ron Rudat, and the bonus is you get to meet Ginny Rudat too.
Right.
You know, the fact that like Ron will sign the stuff and talk to you about it and show it. And that's one thing that I really liked about this show. And I don't compare it to Joe Fest because I haven't been to Joe Fest. The things I've seen there, if I could have gone there, if I could have gone to Joe Cons, I would have been there. But like that's Georgia, and so that's a further distance, and for me to get to Texas is different local for a bunch of people similarly. But the fact that they have a lot more this year too, because they have a bigger space and they have the Commander's package, and so people can get that, and they get the early bird, they get the T-shirt, they get to come in for the Friday only workshops and tutorials that are going on that Friday, the Friday night meet and greet at the Marriott that has all the designers there, you know, the folks who are the special guests are at the meet and greet. Like, those things I think are great because that's a perk. It's a plus for like all the real hardcore fans that go, I can afford this and I want to do that. And the designers workshop that is an extra expense that people can go and they can learn from the designers. They had that last year. And so the original John Kukovich and Mikey Kukovich were in that last year, and they loved it. And my friend Mython the Python was in that. He loved it. Like, these folks that were in there were just like, I'm getting to learn from Dave Kunitz and these guys who designed these vehicles that I grew up loving, and now I can put a hand on my own thing in their, you know, tutelage. And that's rare. And I think that that's really cool that they're doing that again this year for that. And Guy Cassidy is there this year, and he had not been there before. Let me see. On the guest and vendor list, the guest list, I mean, Guy Cassidy, who had, you know, Mobile Command Center, the General, the Persuader, the Rolling Thunder. He had never been to one of these shows before. And I just like, I think it's cool that like these folks who had this business, right, in their maybe 20s, 30s, however old they might have been in the 80s, right, now get this like wind in their sails at this age. And some of them get to be working with Carson, right, where you say, well, Ron Drudat designed this, and this sculpt was this, and Kirk signed off on that. And the fact that you go, it's Operation Recall. We're recalling these guys to business to say, here's some more figures because we loved it then, we love it now. They're still able to do it, and they're here, and they still love it enough too. And so to give these guys their flowers here at the show, and you know, they're not getting any younger, like any different ones like Ron Rudat. Like it's great that he's there every year, because like Larry couldn't make both shows one week to the next week, you know, and the fact that he's at Joe Fest this year, he missed it last year. He was at DFW, and they were on the same date last year. So the people at Joe Fest get to enjoy Larry back again this year, that missed him last year. And Jamie Solomon in Artist Alley, of an Artist Alley with Kickley there. George Vega is doing art. Bob Swanson, who was in marketing research in Hasbro, will be there. And like, he's not one of those guys that go, oh, Bob Swanson's coming. But like reading his thing and then realize they used his name for Major Storm for the General. And so I'm going to take my Major Storm card, right, and get it Swanson to sign it. And you think, well, this was just a guy that was doing a corporate job, you know, for however long ago. And they put him on this little thing, a little fun thing, in this vehicle that, you know, the kids can spend if they get it. And then those kids are these adults and kind of go, oh, I'm signing the card with my name on it now for this 45-year-old guy. Like, I think it's cool to be able to give those guys that credit, and then to be able to learn from them and kind of go, how was it then? How is it now? And the fact that they're all able to join and have kind of a class reunion together. Kurt Groen is there. He did some Sergeant Savage and G.I. Joe Extreme as well. Greg Berntson, who had done, I mean, the Wolverine, the Pogo, the Mauler, the APC, the Flag. Kirk Bazigian, we talked about. Vinny DeLeva, who was a former vice president of marketing. I mean, in the early 90s, G.I. Joe. It's interesting, like, to hear as much as they struggled with, and how many things that you say, well, they had to compete color-wise on the shelf with the pop of the Ninja Turtles, and then Star Wars was coming in, and you know, the playability. So we had the spring-loaded weapons, and I mean, people want to poo-poo on, you know, Neon Joe sometimes, but like, there's so much good stuff, and there was so much fun playability. And if you outgrew it before that, you outgrew it. But if you were a kid at the right time, if you were Pixel Dan and you loved the Ninja Force and you loved, you know, that Zartan figure, then that's your boy, that's your thing. And like Mark said, right, like every character is someone's favorite. And that's really cool to like be able to see like guys like that to go, yeah, we were doing it. And now they can get kind of that second wind of going, oh, there's just people who still like it. You know, that wasn't just like, oh, you were at the end of it and it didn't matter. Like, no, it still mattered all the way in. And it wasn't you who tanked it or did anything wrong with it in the designs. Like, you know, we talked about Ron. Frank Cornelius will be there. The Hammer, I think, is brilliant because it's, you know, Humvee, but it was done G.I. Joe style with every gun and every port. Michael Charles Hill is there, right? Like, I mean, gosh,
right? The Cold Slither Victory Tour, man. Has that guy had a 2 years or what?
Cold Slither is the right moment, right? And he'd be able to kind of go, wow, this came out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, it's the right time, and he's here to celebrate it. Like, it's like, I just wrote this script, you know, on this cost at this time, and
I got to meet him briefly at Assembly Required last year, and I had enough time to ask him one question. I just said, what do you think about all this? And he's like, I have no idea. It still hasn't sunk in. Like,
what
he
a
just,
dream that is.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I'll also throw the example out there. Got to just very briefly meet Doug Hart at Joe Fest last year. And it just guys who are, you know, in their 60s, they've had a whole career behind them, and you know, fame and fortune was not what they got into. You know, it wasn't what they were going for. And we're certainly not providing any of that in our little community, but there's certainly a lot of king for a day
when you get to be the rock star in the room.
Yeah, that they just weren't expecting. And like, to see, I didn't want to say a whole lot to Doug Hart because he was just in this state of wild-eyed wonder anytime I saw him, he was just looking around.
Yeah.
Going, what is happening here? What weird fever dream did I walk into? And
he's there again this year to have more of that.
Yeah. And Assembly Required I mean, Michael Charles Hill was there too, and he was at Assembly Required, which is a much smaller show. And there too, just he couldn't go 10 feet without shaking somebody's hand, answering questions. Somebody's trying to buy him a drink, and he's like, no, I've really had enough. You know, just all he was like you said, the rock star, and these guys just they are not prepared for that, and it's so cool to see them to get to live that. if
and to
only
get
for a
modern
weekend.
stuff, like, so Doug Hart being able to put together, you know, the call sign longbow art and just go, yeah, you can get a signed Krosny Ninja art print from Doug. Like, I mean, it shows that you care about his modern stuff too. You care enough to
Right.
go, yeah, he's still a creator who's doing solid work that you can support for the current stuff. The same way that like people buy comic book that Larry's written because, well, we love Larry. We might love this one as much as we love this other issue, but one day he won't be doing it. And we can support the guy now, even if he only gets this much of it. And so when you get to see these folks at the show, and I feel that way with the voiceover artists, right? Like so Keanu Young, who did Storm Shadow, and Zach Hoffman, who did Zartan, Lisa Raggio, who did Zorana, and Greg Berger, right? Oh my gosh. Spirit, Cutter, Ripcord, Sparks, you know, Firefly. Like Greg Berger is that guy who then he did Odie on Garfield and Friends, and Orson from, you know, US Acres in there. And I realize how much I've always loved Greg Berger stuff, and to be able to go, oh, I didn't know I'd ever get to meet him, you know, because so many of the Joe folks never would come to the main Comic Cons of any sort because unless they
He's
have a new
corn-fed on Duckman. You missed his best role.
Oh, and Duckman. I wasn't watching
on
it.
Duckman.
Corn-fed.
Oh,
I need to go back and watch some of that, but I just like that those guys too, they can be the rock star in the room because as a vocal artist, right, so many of them can walk around without being known the same way. I got to meet Dan Castellaneta back my first year in Chicago because he was doing a stage show at the theater I was working, it's a comedy theater, and so for a couple weeks, like it was his show, and we had so many empty seats sometimes because the theater marketing wasn't what it needed to be at that level. And so there were people who learned he was there, and then they would show up with Simpson stuff for him to sign and whatnot. But he was the kindest, nicest guy. But if you didn't know what he looked like, you know, somebody on one of the most popular TV shows in the nation for decades can walk around without being insane. And I like that some of these guys have that too, you know, whether it's Frank Welker, Michael Bell. And I've, you know, oh gosh, if I could meet Mary McDonnell Lewis and Bill Ratner. Bill Ratner, I mean, does, you know, the news at 5 on W, you know, in Chicago, not WGN. But I always think of Flint's Vacation, where he was doing the news broadcast in the town that's hypnotizing his own family. And I mean, go, oh, now he's doing it for real.
You're casting that part. You go with what you know, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but these folks are all guests at the show, right? And you look and like, and that's, again, Joe Fest has their own set of guests, right? And there's different people who are there that can't be at the show. And there are people like Carson from 3D Joe's who will be at Joe Fest, and they will also be at DFW this year. And I get to meet Carson face to face for the first time after knowing him online for, 5 or 6 years. And like, I'm going to bring my shirt that's in that picture, right? And go, okay, we'll get a picture together, and probably one of my shirt too, because he put me in the book for it. He's like, sure, yeah, it's not you opening a toy, but it'll be in the book. And I was like, oh, that's really kind. Like, because he could have gone, no, it just needs to be only kids opening toys. But that's the kindness of what Carson does and how he shows, every time when he's on these shows with y'all and otherwise. And the vendors at this show, I've gotten to meet different people, and met a customizer 2 years ago. I've become friends with Texas Custom Toys, and being able to see different guys. Matt Squatch is this guy's name. Like, Matt was so kind last year. We were just chatting. And there was another guy who I met, Ace Allgood, last year. And not being, a collector of 70s Joe and Action Team and those things, but being able to see somebody and kind of go, man, this guy's really cool. And I'd seen him on What's on Joe Mind. I told him, I said, you got that energy, Ace. I was like, I dig it. That's the kind of energy I like to have with people. Where you
Ace
just
is
real.
absolutely one of our favorite people.
I can absolutely see it. And when I got to meet him, I was just like, he's that guy. And there was a table right near him where I was looking at this guy's stuff, and it's a bunch of 70s Joe stuff, and it's all mishmash, everything, where it's just like how much is this? What is this worth? And I was looking at it, I was talking to the guy, and this gentleman walks up, next to us. He's looking, he's like, oh, this is such and such rifle. And of course it's Larry Hama, so it's like, I was like, oh, I'm browsing at toys and talking to a vendor with Larry, because this is where that happens. And right. I think that's the feeling that you can get from Joe Fest and DFW Joe Show and these kind AI, and that feeling of just enjoying the community together and being able to kind of go, wow, yeah, the guys that create it, are able to be here and to share and feel that love from you. And I've said this to other people at different times, right? Being able to promote one another's things and others' shows, it's like we don't want to step on each other's toes. Even online, you go, oh, this person broadcasts at Wednesday at the same time I do. Hey, you can watch a replay of one of them. Like, there's a whole world full of TV and streaming and things, and we're all going to step on someone else's business. But like, right. We're all here to do our own voice and our own thing, and we want to be able to get along together and just don't yuck someone else's yum. And when you are able to share the yum together, just kind of go, isn't it great that we get this? Aren't we lucky? And I feel like Joe has been in that spot for a little while, because there was a discussion recently. It's like, wow, was 2024 one of the golden Joe years that when we get forward a little further, we will look back and go, yeah, that was a pretty great one. Like 23 was pretty good. Like, and we're kind of still in that. And so to be able to embrace that with these books that are like we talked about with Greg Gustin and these shows, and the folks that are coming to these shows and are creating new product like Doug Hart and the new action figures. That's why I support all of it. That's why I support you guys. That's why I support. I'm all in on Call Sign Longbow. I've got the whole wave, pre-ordered. I'm all in on Operation Recall. I've had the pre-ordered. And like those are the times where I said, okay, what else are you going to spend your money on? You're going to want these when they come out. You might as well go in now.
Right.
And it's only people who've done that. And the Kickstarters.
Spend a lot now or spend a little bit more than a lot later.
Patty Lennon's books. I mean, like I had missed the first one in hardback, and I said, well, I got to get that second one in hardback and go get the first one too. And I learned about that here in your show. And so the fact that you share that with everybody, I think is great.
Yeah, those books are superb.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's get to the post sock.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Just finished the HCC 788 episode. Great show. I'm digging the Reckless Hot Takes theme. In the spirit of your recent Beachhead acquisition, I thought I'd share with the show the playlist to my series, Beachhead's Classified Figure Reviews. Each episode is roughly 3 minutes long and is either funny or sad. The choice is yours.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, good luck with tonight's show. Good thing you have all the content from today's live stream. Wink. Thanks and take care. James, Agent Chuckles, Booth.
I hope we can fill 2 hours.
Right. Look, filling 2 hours is never a problem.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Right. It's a matter of, can I keep it down to roughly 2 hours so that people can go to bed and not get fired on Thursday?
Yeah, I didn't help with that.
No. And I didn't figure you would. First time guest hosts always have a lot to say.
Yeah.
It's fine. That if it wasn't okay, you wouldn't have been on tonight. But anyways, to balance your fan experience, what James has been kind enough to do, you can get the playlist of all of these down below in the description. But we have one here for you to watch, so you don't even have to click. So strap in. It's going to be about 3 minutes. This is an episode of Beachhead's Classified Figure Reviews. Enjoy.
Welcome to Beachhead's Classified Reviews. You're actually a little early. Very good. In my book, if you're on time, you're late. Is your malfunction, Squidward?
Has anyone seen an annoying green parrot around here?
A bird. I should have known. Why do I even ask?
I was cleaning my weapon in my quarters, and it might have gone off, and she flew away.
Sometimes I wonder who scored higher on the ASVAB. You or the bird. You know, cleaning your weapon in your quarters is against all. You weren't cleaning your weapon at all, were you? How did I become a magnet for this nonsense?
Hey, sailor. Polly's in the briefing room telling anyone and everyone all about your dream date with a certain redhead in the motor pool.
Blast that feathered Benedict Arnold!
We have a brief in 10 minutes, and your bird is going to get us both peeling potatoes for roadblock.
Shiver me timbers.
This beak stays closed for goldfish crackers.
Oh, you think you're clever, do you, bird? Fine.
I like your bird. He's so cute and chatty.
Oh, well, thank you, Krieger, but he is a she. Her name is Polly. Say, are you a sniper?
No, why?
Because you just shot me in the heart. Wait, if you were playing, you'd be a rattler.
That's not even the joke. The punchline is, you'd be A-10, like the plane, A-10.
Who are you talking to?
I was just talking to them.
Who?
Never mind. Hey, what is that?
What?
That fishing pole thing.
This is a power javelin. It's the same thing I've used hundreds of times.
A power what?
Power javelin.
A tin hut.
Thanks, Duke. We've just received some updated intel on an HVT.
Whoa, you can't be here for this part.
This is a TST
Go get some chow.
situation.
I'll catch up
We
with
need
you.
to-
That's it. Wheels up at 0500 hours. Check your kits and rest up.
Yo, Joe!
A power javelin, you say? A power javelin.
Uh-huh.
Power javelin, power javelin, power javelin. You ever say something so many times and then it loses meaning?
Can we not?
They use that in the Olympics, don't they?
What is your problem?
How do you even deploy a power javelin?
Well, you gotta point it at your target.
And stab them?
Well, I could. Usually, I just fire the spear near the target and let the different attachments do whatever they do.
The what?
It has different attachments, like this one. It...
Bludgeons?
Yeah, probably. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, at least that one stabs, right?
It could, yeah. Yeah, for sure it could. But, you know what? I got a camera.
VHS. Huh? Nice. No, that's cool, right? After the mission, you can just mail your power javelin tape right down to Funniest Home Movies. You might win $100,000 from Hector Ramirez or whoever hosts it now.
I hate you, bitch!
And now back to what's on Joe's mind.
There you go, folks. Beachhead's classified figure reviews. You can catch the whole run. We've again got the link down below. Thanks to James for letting us share, and I enjoyed. So I'm going to check out the rest of them when we're done here tonight, because Lord knows I don't have any homework. I've given you all the homework. I did all the homework.
The power javelin conversation has always been waiting to happen. So.
It's something we've always wondered.
Yeah.
Power javelin.
I got to
that's right.
Let's well, Jeff, you're our guest. We'll give you a chance to do a quick round of what we got in.
Oh, very good. So one of the things I got in here, I actually got a pack of the 25th anniversary deck of cards.
Ooh,
so
nice.
this full deck of cards, right? You can get there's a bunch of them on eBay and wherever, but it was cool. I never had one of these before. I liked all the designs. I was a little surprised that they actually used Storm Shadow and Cobra, and then also in G.I. Joe gear. I was like, oh, that's interesting, but
don't read into it too much, man. It's just a deck of playing cards.
They were just selling the figures. I also got this guy right here. So this book, The Cobra's Revenge, this is by Color Forms, and it's an interesting little book that is basically supposed to go with the tape, right? And you can just give me the big window.
We're trying. There we go.
So actually, if you go to 3djoes.com, they actually have the audio for this because the tape is rather rare to get, and also the stickers are usually missing. But this book is interesting because you would think Bazooka saw the sea serpent, but Bazooka's not in this. Although Shipwreck is, and you can enjoy like only so much without the extras that are the Color Forms bits and pictures. You can just imagine whatever Shipwreck is seeing right here. Right. But just to be able to get this G.I. Joe ephemera book is one of the fun parts of loving the brand. And also around the same time I got this rare bit, which is the deluxe Color Form set.
Ooh,
nice.
And I had thought about this off and on for a long time. It's funny because I got that book and I was like, oh, it's Color Forms, I should look. And the general Joe Color Forms that's out there is got the 82 characters on it, but this one with the 85s, and this had some water damage to the box. I actually retaped it on the bottom, but for those who haven't seen it, this one is almost complete. It actually included this slip, which includes a lot of the play features and scenes. So all these characters and all these pieces here, I have all of them except for 2 laser blasts. And that was the sale for this, right? Because it even came with where they come from. A couple of the black pieces had come off, but where the characters go on here, and then of course you can just see the play set there itself. But the fact that it had all of these except for 2, there's Snake Eyes with Timber and you see the Baroness in the background. You can see different ones. I get them all just in this, so I won't lose them in the box. But every one of these except for 2 laser blasts. That's my big what we got in that I can share and show, because I have always loved the 85s, and every one of these has a little color forms piece, and they're all here. However, they designed him, Quick Kick is doing like his slide into a kick, and Dusty is leaning forward. I mean, you can see different ones that are actually there. But I'll see if I can take some pictures. I'll maybe do a review and put it on my YouTube at some point, and it'll get all of 25 views from hardcore G.I. Joe fans. But be one of the little fun things. And we'll
get you linked up, so maybe you'll get to 30.
Yeah, I was glad to pick that up. But yeah, no, I got a YouTube site that is Nowhere Man Child, and my Instagram Nowhere Man Child as well. So if people want to follow me and find stuff there, that's where I'm going to end up posting stuff.
I do have to re-edit the description, because once we get done with the show, it's kind of disrespectful to leave up the "who is this guy?"
Who is that
joke. So we, I'll get you tagged up in there. So hopefully we'll drive a little traffic your way.
I enjoyed the fun of it to begin with. I was like, all right, nobody will know. I'm coming out of the woodwork lately. So
right. Who is it? What is it? What just happened?
What's happening?
20 questions for this guy.
So Jeff, we'll let you roll right into shout outs, man. Who we shouting out to?
Oh gosh. Okay. So shout out first to you guys for doing such a great show, for regularly putting on and doing it continuously. For Joe has a baby and she has to step away, and Mark has job and family and busy responsibilities and has to step away, and just like so many changes that come and go. And Phil has to step to Disneyland once every couple of weeks. You're very good with getting folks in here. Mark Steins I hadn't seen before your show. It's Chad I hadn't seen before your show a couple of years ago. Diana's been on. I've enjoyed seeing her. And so many, Greg Gustin being on recently, and just all the guys that you get on to put on here. I mean, it builds the care, because you see that and go, oh, I didn't know about that. And there's always going to be somebody who gets something out of every one of these. So that's my first shout out just for y'all. And just the fact that there's folks that I've been able to become friends with through G.I. Joe, right, and who have been really cool and good to me. And Hans Chow is one of those really positive people. I'm going to shout out Hans Chow on this right now, just because his positive energy is one of those things that drew me to him as a person. And we would just kind of like joke, and then we became friendly and friends now, and right back and forth. And he gets to go to Joe Fest, but I won't be at Joe Fest, so I don't get to meet him in person. So like if I'm at DFW, I'll meet someone else at DFW and become friends with. And it's cool that this community just has that around. It's like I mentioned different people that I'd met at DFW before and hadn't known before, and it's really good to be able to have that and to feel that, and just to be able to see some of the same people regularly that show up. Me being one of them, is because it's fun to be part of it. It's fun to put other things away and to go, I've always loved G.I. Joe. What do I still love about it now? And that's part of the reason that I got into theater in high school, and it was like, oh, you realize you have fun connectivity. He is real.
Andrew Galgan asked the question. Hans Chow is real? He is. We've all, Rob and I have met him.
And he's spectacular.
He is. He absolutely.
But I think that there's a connectivity of everything here that you just go, why do you still like it? Is it nostalgia? Does it scratch your itch? There's people that go, oh, I remember that. And that's all they say on some comment on, the 80s nostalgia page or the whatever. And you just kind of go, oh, that's all it is for some people. It's, I remember that. It made me smile, and I move on again. But then for the rest of us, you go, no, I can still live in it. I can still enjoy it. I know that this is the cap of a gun from Terrordrome Blaster. We know each other through little things like that.
Right.
And so that's the fun of still being part of this. And, whether my wife, doesn't just put up with it, but encourages it to go, yeah, go have fun with them.
There's that little spark that still ignites when some tiny piece of trivia gets caught by one other person in a room with 200 people in it, right? So yeah. So these social events are like an entire room full of people that catch that.
I have lines in my head right in the, you've said it out loud to the right person when they know sometimes the thing exactly as well as you do. You like airtight popping the balloon. I always thought he was Dusty popping the balloon. I always thought he was an airhead. Airtight says, don't break that balloon. And just like, it's weird little lines that like airhead will bring to mind the Funhouse episode, right, to me in random times, because like, well, is it because I was 6 years old and I saw it and then I rewatched it for years, and like there's some of that, the repetition, but then also the fact that your brain cares enough to keep it somewhere, and kind of go, okay, well, that calculus thing walked away, but I can tell you everything about, there's no place like Springfield. Like,
calculus is garbage, frankly, and for laymen, unless you are actively using it in your job, unless math is the thing that sparks that little spark in your head, calculus is useless.
And I work for special events now, right? Like I work for a university. I worked for a reunion department for 3 years before that and got moved into special events. And previous to that, I worked in the health service for over a decade. And that came into play when the pandemic came up. And it's like all of a sudden you have to prove what you knew before and now do without a little bit to make sure other people don't do without. And it was a success, got through it and able to go, okay, but then now what? Like if that job is changing, and it did, and it led me to someone else saying, yeah, you'd be a good fit for a reunion. Reunion, the phrase is come back, give back. And that's one thing that G.I. Joe does when it does it well. And the same thing any fandom for this, Batman, Star Wars, Marvel, anything that you love, you come back to it and you can also give back through your love, your current love. And it's not just about I'm absorbing something that made me happy from thinking when I was young, but it's about why does it make me happy now? Why does it matter now? And bringing alumni back to colleges and caring about the current students, caring about the current programs and the things that maybe that shaped their life. That program shaped my career and my thing. And I had 40 years worth and I'm retired. Now I'm seeing what they do for the current folks. That's one thing that we want from our IPs and from our fandoms and our hobbies, is because it's connectivity and tissue. And I think that is what's at core at life. And so when I'm working with special events like this last week, I worked with commencement, and it's so cool to I just say hello to whomever, it was the special speaker and, the president, and then like this other person who's on the platform. You just go, well, they're people. And I'm not afraid to like just say hello, because I helped host their event to make sure they're successful and they can get that reflection. And my last name's Butler. My joke from Unawaited Tables was always, oh, I'm Butler, I can take care of you. And like that, it was about making extra tips and connecting to the person back then. But the connectivity is what I kept forever after. And then I use to talk to people and to work it out. Because maybe no surprise to some people, I got a theater degree, but it never made me much money other than get me in the door to say, oh, I graduated college and that got whatever. But also being able to learn improvisation and yes and being able to say yes and to the positive things in life. Make the highest percentage choices and the best things that you can do. And that's all we can hope for in 2025 and beyond. And hopefully you have before and you will again. And to just be good to each other in the Joe community and in life in general. And that's why we're all here, right? Like just to have fun and enjoy and move ahead together. So,
and apparently to debate the existence of Hans Chow.
Hans Chow is only as real as you make him to be.
Right time, Rob. Shout out.
Shout out to the studio audience. Thanks for hanging in tonight. Thanks for showing up every week. Thanks for surviving the storms as you go further east. Be careful out there.
Yeah, it's not been a great year for the weather. Who else you got, right time, Rob?
Thanks to Jeff for coming on, and
thank you.
And might I say, let me just recommend, if you're not reading this because of the robots, you're missing out.
And it's not written by AI yet.
Hopefully we'll hold out long enough until I'm long dead. Anyways, I'm going to reiterate most of Ragtime Rob shout outs. Thank you to our live studio audience. Most of you are here every week. If you're new to the program, make sure you're doing all that cool YouTube stuff down below, in addition to clicking the multitude of links. We do have the like button and the subscribe button. You guys have been pretty good about that the last couple of weeks. Let's keep that momentum going. We have a very meager goal. I've promised you, if we ever get to 2,000 subscribers, I won't ever ask anyone to subscribe again. Maybe I'll have a little graphic in the corner or something, but you'll never hear the word come out of my mouth ever again at 2,000 subscribers. And ever since I've made that goal, I've put that out there. Our subscriptions stopped growing almost instantly. So, yeah, let's keep the momentum from the last couple of months going, and make sure that if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel now. It's quick, it's free. And if you've already watched this much of the show, YouTube's going to keep recommending us to you for the rest of your natural life. So you might as well just subscribe. If you are catching us on replay, we love you too. You count just as much. And the same goes for you there. Make sure you're hitting the buttons down below. Make sure you're leaving us a nice comment, because as they say, interaction is key. Whatever you've got going tonight, if you have a story that's based on one of the many, train wreck tangents we went on tonight, post them down below too. We love hearing from you.
And I admit that I'm one of those people, like watching live, it's easy to forget to go back and go, oh, I want to comment later, because we're watching live and we're interacting in the chat. And I know I've been one of those people that forgets, like, oh, I want to comment on that later. And all of a sudden a week goes by and I hadn't made a comment. And so I've told myself to remember to try to do better. And I know that's one of those things that is definitely helpful when we can, especially.
If you are catching us on audio replay, we appreciate you too. Make sure that you're taking a minute, getting over to YouTube, and getting yourself counted. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button there on the YouTube channel. If you've got a second, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to leave us a nice 5-star review. We haven't had too many of them lately, and they help get the word out too. We're not here to restrict how people are getting a hold of us. If an audio listener wants to get a hold of What's on Joe Mind, shoot, we've been doing that for 14 years. Might as well keep that crazy train rolling too. We got over 2 million or something like that, or 1.5 million hits on Podbean. We're no small potatoes over there. So audio is a big part of our game. So please, if you listen to us on audio, give us a review at your streamer of choice. Big thanks to our friend James Booth, Agent Chuckles, for letting us share his video and hopefully get the word out. He gets a couple hundred hits on those shorts. I think they deserve a lot more than that. He puts a lot of work into those. And he's better at crafting jokes than a lot of folks out there. So give James some love. We've got him linked up in the description down below. And his channel is linked up to ours on the main page as well. So you've got all kinds of stuff you can click there. To our wonderful friends and sponsors at Kokomo Toys, real quick, we'll sing the theme song. Kokomo Toys. Kokomo Toys. We drove past Kokomo twice this weekend. We weren't able to stop because nobody was there. So
it was Sunday.
Right. I mean, once was Sunday, the other was Saturday, but it was before they were open. So
as somebody wearing a beach looking shirt and talking about Kokomo, rest in peace, Brian Wilson.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
And just to let you know how the YouTube algorithms work, I watched one video on Brian Wilson yesterday and then went back to the YouTube homepage. The next 16 videos were all Brian Wilson.
All Brian Wilson. All Brian. And we'll be on that list if you go back again, Rob, because we mentioned him here like 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Snip this and there you go.
Yeah.
Diana Davis says, I've subscribed as many times as I'm allowed. I don't think that's true, man. There's burner accounts.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
subscribe them too. I have one, and I set it up to play after I'll go to bed tonight. I'll turn on my burner channel and we will watch What's on Joe Mind.
I got 2 names here.
I will click like and it'll be great. +1 ding. But that's all we got. Lord knows we've been talking a lot. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll have a lot of big news coming out of next week's planned Hasbro Pulse live stream. We'll know more about the HasLab G.I. Joe project for this year, hopefully. But yeah, that's it. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. As our friend Vagon likes to say, stay safe. And if you can't, be careful. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another episode of What's on Joe Mind. I'm your host, Mike Irizarry. Have a great rest of the week. And yo, Joe.